In our village, during a severe drought, never go up the mountain empty-handed. But I went up Xiaomao Mountain with nothing in my hands. Yet, not only was I completely unharmed, I also brought back a plump, juicy pheasant. The villagers all thought I had offended the mountain god, and were waiting to see my whole family die a tragic death. But they had no idea. I have a divination system that seeks good fortune and avoids disaster. The hexagram said heading east leads to a dead end. So I turned around and headed west to an abandoned trap, where I easily picked up a 3-pound fat pheasant. The hexagram said the bottom of the cliff was highly ominous. So I took my bow and arrow around to the back of the mountain instead, and dug up a 3-year-old wild ginseng worth 8 taels of silver. Just when the whole village thought I was possessed by a fox spirit, I divined a bone-chilling hexagram. In 3 days, there will be a nationwide refugee massacre that will sweep the country. It led to my sudden death, transmigrating to Xinhua village in the Great Yong dynasty. I became a town loafer with the same name, who stole all his family's money to simp for a manipulative girl, and was ultimately murdered. And in half a month, it will be the day to pay the annual taxes. If we can't pay, the strong laborers in the family will be conscripted into corvée labor. Frankly speaking, to be cannon fodder on the battlefield. Thinking of this, I wanted to curse the original owner for being a piece of trash. But now I'm the owner of this body. I will never do the bastard things the original owner did, and I will protect this family. But gathering 20 taels for the taxes in such a short time, in a famine year, is easier said than done. Just as I was worrying, a ding suddenly sounded in my mind. Divination system successfully bound. The host could divine once a day, to seek good fortune and avoid disaster, and turn peril into safety. Do you want to divine or draw a lottery? I clicked on the lottery without hesitation. The system popped up 8 big words. Lottery missed. Please try again. Damn system. I took a deep breath and clicked on divination. 3 bamboo, slip-style hexagrams appeared on the interface. Today's fortune. Hexagram 1, minor luck. Today at noon, go halfway up Xiaomao Mountain to an abandoned trap hole, and you can harvest a wild pheasant. Hexagram 2, medium moment. High a cave on Xiaomao Mountain. A lone wild boar is foraging, hunting it. Might yield a harvest. Be careful of the wild boar's counterattack. Hexagram 3, great omen. The southwest call of Xiaomao Mountain. A mother wolf just gave birth to 3 cubs. Hunting them might yield a harvest. Be careful of the mother wolf's counterattack and the alpha wolf's ambush. Looking at the hexagrams with glowing golden edges, I was ecstatic. With this in hand, why worry about starving in a famine year? My eyes fell on the small text of the 3 slips. A wild pheasant in an abandoned trap hole. Isn't that just free meat? Just the first slip made the corners of my mouth rise. A lone wild boar? I'm not going. Although the temptation of a wild boar is great. With my amateur hunting skills, I'd only become the boar's plaything. As for the great omen hexagram, I didn't even look at it and just took the first slip. Are you kidding me? Provoking a fiercely protective mother wolf? I'd just be delivering myself as food. As I selected the slip, a flash of spiritual light entered my mind. My consciousness instantly pictured the pheasant that fell into the trap and its surroundings. No wonder I could get such a steal. I muttered to myself, having made up my mind. I got up, pushed the door open, and prepared to go to Xiaomao Mountain to pick up the pheasant. But I came face to face with a bloodshot, exhausted-looking middle-aged man. This was the original owner's father, Shun Huaishan. He was once a centurion in the Xuanjiao army. After retiring, he raised his brothers single-handedly. Seeing me come out, his stern face instantly broke into a simple, honest smile. Erlang, you're awake. Drink your medicine quickly. Behind him, my eldest brother, Shun Ping, clasped his hands together. Close his eyes in joy. Thank goodness, thank goodness. Mother in heaven must be blessing us. My second brother has finally woken up. Standing in the yard was my red-eyed sister-in-law, Lu Chilian. She was heavily pregnant and clutching my 7-year-old niece in her arms. Seeing this scene, I felt awful. Father, I'm fine now. You and brother don't need to worry anymore. And father, I was wrong. I won't be like before. Some things are better said clearly to their faces, lest they think I'm possessed by something evil. Father froze for a moment, the smile on his lips deepening. Good boy, as long as you know you were wrong. My eldest brother also smiled happily. Second brother, but my sister-in-law suddenly looked up, her red, swollen eyes filled with anger. She burst out, does knowing you're wrong fix anything? You've doomed my husband. Why wasn't you who got conscripted? Hearing this questioning, I wasn't mad. The bastard things the original owner did truly deserved cursing. But my eldest brother's face darkened, and he turned and scolded, shut up. The family's decision is not for an outsider like you to object to. Besides, Second brother already admitted his mistake. What more do you want from him? My sister-in-law clutched her belly, tasting bitterness in her mouth. Tears fell silently. My little niece also sobbed quietly. The atmosphere at home instantly became heavy and oppressive. Just as my eldest brother was about to speak again, I interrupted him first. Sister-in-law is right. But I truly know I was wrong. Please believe me, sister-in-law. She instantly froze, her sobbing stopping. She looked at me as if I were a monster. In the past, if she dared to say even one word, the original owner would lead the whole family to gang up on her. But now I was apologizing. Father and brother looked at me in even more disbelief. My expression was calm, and I didn't explain further. Rather than talking nonsense, it's better to prove it with action. Under their astonished gazes, I picked up the medicine bowl and drank it in one gulp. Father, I've been lying in bed all day. My back aches. I want to take a stroll around Xiaoyang Mountain. If I'm not back before dark, don't save dinner for me. Saying that, I turned around and walked toward the direction of the pheasant indicated by the slip. But just as I was about to head out, I heard behind me the timid voice of a little girl. Second uncle is going to mountain without a basket or shovel. I'm afraid he's going to town for good food again. Mother, I want good food too. I'm so hungry. Niece Xin Xiaoling's soft, sweet voice pulled the stunned family back to reality. Brother Xinping immediately darkened his face and scolded Xiaoling. How do I usually teach you manners? Is this how you respect your elders? With no regard for your seniors? Second uncle is an elder. Whatever he eats is his right. Saying that, he went to grab a broom. 7-year-old Xiaoling was instantly scared into tears. Sister-in-law, Lu Qiuyan's newfound goodwill towards me vanished instantly. She shielded her daughter behind her. Are you going to hit someone? Our daughter didn't say anything wrong. I frowned. It seems it will take time for the family to accept me. The original owner never moved a finger and couldn't tell crops apart. He was even worse than a 7-year-old niece. Yet he was infinitely spoiled by the family. That's how he developed this arrogant, spendthrift behavior. I reached out and stopped my brother and turned to look at the old man. Father, look at my memory. I forgot to bring a basket. Good thing Xiaoling reminded me. You all wait. Today I'll go up the mountain and hunt a pheasant for us. But only my 7-year-old niece believed these words. She cautiously poked her little head out, drool hanging from the corner of her mouth. Second uncle, are we really having pheasant tonight? Yes. I gave a bright smile and casually picked up the basket in the corner, seeing that I didn't seem to be faking it. Father quickly handed over the family's hunting bow. Take this for self-defense and don't push yourself. The mountains have been bare these past few famine years. Even if there's experienced prey, you might not be able to track it. If you walk around and find nothing, just come back. I nodded, took the hunting bow, and turned to walk toward Xiaomo Mountain. Once I was far away, Father finally snapped back to reality, burned by his tobacco pipe. He grinned widely. Erling is finally growing up. I told you Erling wasn't a bad kid. He knows the family is struggling and knows to hunt on the mountain to provide for us. But sister-in-law pouted and muttered under her breath. The family's poverty is caused by Shun in any way. He only went up the mountain once. What's there to be happy about? Dalong, do you think Shunin took the hunting bow to sell in town for money to propose to the Zheng family in a neighboring Wangjia village? Father heard this, and his face instantly turned cold. Impossible. Even though Erling usually fools around and doesn't act properly, he knows his limits. But Father's face was darker than anyone's. The family hasn't been able to afford food for 2 months, and we completely rely on this hunting bow to eat. My eldest brother's smile also froze. He spoke bitterly. Father, second brother hasn't been gone long. If I chase him, maybe I can still get the hunting bow back. Saying that, my brother ran toward the town. But he would never have imagined that I actually went up Xiaomo Mountain. 15 minutes later, I was standing at the location indicated by the slip, pulling apart the dry vines. The cave entrance appeared. There really was a pheasant. Looking at the listless fat bird at the bottom of the pit, I was overjoyed. It actually weighs over 3 pounds. Dinner is sorted. I nimbly tied up the pheasant and tossed it into the basket. Just as I climbed out of the trap, I heard 2 familiar voices coming from nearby. I didn't expect the Shun family to have so little savings. Not even enough to blow through 10 taels of silver in 2 days. I wonder when Shun will wake up. When he does, we'll trick him into stealing some more money from home, so we can feast in town. Keep it down. It won't be good if someone hears. I hid behind a tree and looked out. It was the village rascals, Zhang Ergu and Wang Jinbao. Immediately after, Wang Jinbao's hushed voice came again. The whole village is saying. Shen was carried back with a cracked head, and he was dying that very day. So some things are better left unsaid. Got it. No way. I didn't feel like I hit him that hard. I can't believe Shen is so frail. My heart skipped a beat. So the original owner's death was caused by them. Burning with anger, I accidentally snapped a dry twig. Who's there? The two of them, with sinister looks and fierce glares, approached. I decided not to hide anymore. Putting on my usual playful smile, I walked out. Brother Zhang, Brother Wang, I didn't expect to run into you guys on Xiaoma Mountain. Why aren't you drinking in town today? Zhang Ergu took 2 steps back in fright. Are you a man or a ghost? Wang Jinbao stared fixedly at my shadow to confirm I was human, then secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Pretending nothing had happened, he said, We heard you had an accident on the way to deliver the betrothal gifts. We were so worried about your safety, tossing and turning all night. How could we be in a mood to go to town? He looked me up and down. Our prayers to the gods over the past 2 days weren't in vain. You really are fine, since it's still early, and we couldn't eat or sleep well for you these past 2 days. As your brothers, now that you're well, you definitely have to treat us to a restaurant in town for a meal, to probably make it up to us. Zhang Ergu also regained his senses, rubbing his shoulder and echoing, Yeah, I've been exhausted these past 2 days. Looking at these 2 greedy faces, I suppressed my anger and sneered, I'd love to, but you must have heard about my family situation. We really can't spare any extra money. Otherwise, if I had money, why would I hide it? I would have invited you 2 brothers to town for fine wine and meat long ago. Wang Jinbao rolled his eyes and locked onto the hunting bow in my hand. Who says you don't have money? The hunting bow in your hand is of good quality. Take it to town, and it'll definitely fetch a good price. Then we'll have enough to eat for days. Saying that, he greedily reached out to grab me. My eyes darkened, and I dodged it. No way. If my dad finds out I secretly sold the hunting bow, he'll break one of my legs. Besides, this bow is my family's livelihood. I can't sell it. Seeing you didn't succeed, Wang Jinbao chuckled drily. Look at how nervous you are. I was just joking. As good brothers, even if we have to smash our pots and sell scrap iron, we wouldn't let your family bully you. Zhang Ergu played along. We came up the mountain to look for wild game. We figured if we could hunt something, we'd send it to you to nourish your body. I looked at their empty hands and sneered inwardly. You didn't even bring a machete. And you want to hunt? Just then, Zhang Ergu casually slung his arm over my shoulder and instinctively reached into my basket. The next second, looking at the 3-pound pheasant in his hand, he swallowed greedily. Brother Shun, that's not cool. Jinbao and I were thinking of you. Yet you kept quiet while hiding such good stuff. We'll just take this pheasant. It just so happens your sister-in-law has been weak lately and needs nourishment. Thanks for the pheasant. Wang Jinbao's eyes lit up too. The 2 exchanged a glance and were about to leave with a bird. Hypocrisy and moral kidnapping worked on the original owner. But they won't work on me. I stopped pretending and directly pressed an arrow against the back of Zhang Ergu's neck. I don't recall agreeing to let you take the pheasant. Feeling a pain in his neck, Zhang Ergu was shocked and angry. Shannon, what are you doing? I sneered at the pheasant. Give it back, or don't blame me for being ruthless. And the arrow instantly pierced his skin, seeping warm blood. Facing the enemies who killed the original owner, I would absolutely not show mercy. Zhang Ergu's legs were trembling, but he still tried to save face. Didn't I say your sister-in-law is weak and needs nourishment? Besides, the fact that you woke up is all thanks to us praying for you. Wang Jinbao also stepped forward to push my arrow away. Shannon, it's just a pheasant. Given our relationship, there's no need to be at each other's throats, right? Give the pheasant back. I don't want to say it a 3rd time. My eyes turned cold, and the arrow pushed deeper into his flesh. Zhang Ergu was terrified out of his wits, crying out in pain. He indignantly shoved the pheasant back into my hands. Fine, take it. I'm not as petty as you. For the sake of our past brotherhood, don't say I never look out for you, little bro. Saying that, he clutched his bleeding neck, glared fiercely at me, and turned to head down the mountain. Wang Jinbao rolled his eyes shiftily, still trying to smooth things over. We're all brothers here. Don't misunderstand. Ergu took a fall before coming up the mountain, so he's probably just venting his frustration. Don't take it to heart. Keep the pheasant to nourish your body. When you're healed up, I'll help you come up with a plan. To propose to Cousin Wanner. I couldn't be bothered to respond to him. I pulled off a leaf to wipe the blood-stained arrow. Finding himself ignored, Wang Jinbao quickly caught up to Zhang Ergu and purposely yelled out loud. Ergu, don't be mad. Who knows what's wrong with Shannon today, daring to treat us like this? Just wait, when the time comes. Even if he brings a mountain of prey and begs on his knees, I'll still have to think twice about letting him back into our crew. As for Cousin Wanner, there's no way she'll marry such an ungrateful bastard. Zhang Ergu also cursed. Brother Wang, I think you're just too kind. Didn't you see his murderous look just now? A guy like that doesn't deserve to hang with us. The two kept looking back every few steps, and seeing that I didn't chase after them like the original owner would have. To act like a simp, they could only scamper off dejectedly. I looked in the direction they left, my eyes cold. These two bastards not only instigated the original owner to steal money, but they also dealt the final blow and robbed him when he fell. I've noted down this blood debt. As evening approached, the Shun family courtyard was dead quiet. My eldest brother chased along the official road, but didn't see me. He returned home dejected. Father, blame me for being too slow to catch up to second brother. Punish me if you must. Father's cloudy old eyes gradually lost their luster. His face filled with disappointment. Sister-in-law slammed the wild vegetable soup onto the table and cried in despair. I told you, how could a prodigal son turn over a new leaf? Great. Now the family's only means of survival, the hunting bow, has been sold in town by Erlang. Good for him, feasting all by himself. But soon it will be time to pay the corvée tax. We can't live like this anymore. My little niece clutched her stomach, staring longingly at the porridge with barely any rice in it. Dad, Mom, when are we going to eat? I'm so hungry. Father, with a dark face, gritted his teeth and said, let's eat, just as everyone picked up their bowls and chopsticks. The courtyard door was pushed open by me with a clang. Looking at my astonished family, I tossed the pheasant onto the ground, scratched my head and grinned. I'm not late, am I? Sister-in-law rubbed her eyes in disbelief when she saw the intact hunting bow in my hand. Her suspended heart finally settled. Father excitedly straightened his back, tears streaming down his face. I told you Erling wasn't a bad kid. His nature isn't bad. See, didn't he come back? Brother also proudly nudged sister-in-law. I told you second brother wasn't that kind of person. Don't ever say things like you did today again. Otherwise, I'll beat you every time you do. Father snorted coldly and ordered, since you're back, let's eat. I smiled and pointed to the pheasant on the ground. No rush, Father. I caught a pheasant on the mountain. Looking at how listless it is, it probably won't live long. Why don't we kill and eat it tonight? Sister-in-law is pregnant right now. It's the perfect time to make some chicken soup for her to nourish her body. Sister-in-law froze, her eyes instantly turning red. Her unreliable brother-in-law actually knew how to care for her. Father and brother were even more stunned in place. I pointed at the pheasant and continued, Brother, sister-in-law, can I leave the pheasant to you to handle? Sister-in-law sprang to her feet, nimbly grabbed the pheasant, and walked to the kitchen. Of course. Erlang, you've worked hard. Sit down and rest for a bit. I'll boil water and kill the chicken right away. But before she could even grab a knife, brother, with a dark face, snatched it away. You're an adult. How can you still be so greedy? Taking this pheasant to town to sell can fetch several pounds of millet. Enough of the family's rations for half a month. My little niece was scared and shrank her neck, defending her mother with a crying voice. Dad, it's not that Mom wants to eat meat. It's me who wants to eat it. Don't yell at Mom anymore. If you have to hit someone, hit me. Seeing that the situation was about to turn ugly, Father's stern voice rang out, Dalong, stew this chicken for us to eat. Brother became anxious. But Father, this pheasant can be exchanged for a lot of money. Father sighed. The pheasant was caught by your brother. He already said we're eating chicken tonight. So don't speak any more nonsense. Besides, looking at this bird, it won't even survive the night. How can you take it to town to sell? By then, even slitting its throat to drain the blood won't work. Father knew the rules. The first prey caught by a hunter has extraordinary significance. Not to mention, this is proof of me turning over a new leaf. Seeing that my brother was still reluctant, I had to pretend to be my former arrogant self. Brother, if I don't get to eat chicken tonight, I'll take the hunting bow to town and sell it for booze. As soon as I said that, I received a hard smack on the head for Father. 我就拿猎弓去镇上卖了换酒钱吃。话音刚落，头上就挨了爹一记暴力. When my older brother heard this, he got so scared he darted into the kitchen, terrified that I'd actually sell the hunting bow. I sat down satisfied and picked up the water bowl, but then I noticed Dad was using a probing gaze to stare fixedly at me. My heart skipped a beat. Was I exposed? I hurriedly crossed my legs, whistling to put on a frivolous look, and muttered in dissatisfaction, Dad, what are you looking at me for? Dad's eyes grew red. He slapped his hand heavily on my shoulder and smiled wryly. You little rascal, you've finally grown up. The chicken meat was stewed into soup and brought to the table. As soon as the lid was lifted, a wisp of white smoke rose, accompanied by the unique, savory aroma of wild pheasant. Filling the air, golden chicken fat floated on the soup. The broth was as fresh and white as milk, and the color was tempting. My little niece, Shun Shaoling, swallowed hard out of greed, staring unblinkingly at the chicken soup. Mom, second uncle really didn't lie to us, he said. We'd have pheasant to eat tonight, and we do. It smells so good. Smelling the chicken, her stomach kept rumbling, and she was drooling all over the floor. She urged, "Mom, hurry up. I want to eat meat." My sister-in-law rolled her eyes at her, but her hands didn't stop serving the meat. The first bowl went to Dad, a scoop of chicken and a scoop of broth. Next was me, a scoop of broth, a scoop of meat, and a large chicken leg. Finally, my sister-in-law and niece only got half a scoop of broth and 2 pieces of chicken neck. During years of severe drought and famine, women didn't have the right to eat meat. Getting to taste a bit of the meaty broth was already a huge privilege. I was genuinely hungry. I simply said, "Let's eat," and helped myself to a piece of chicken. The chicken meat was lean, but not tough. The chicken skin was crisp and tender. The broth carried the essence of the entire wild pheasant, savory and full of flavor. As for me picking up my chopsticks first, the family had long been used to it. If I were modest and polite, they'd actually feel uncomfortable. My growing little niece was starving. She finished in 2 bites. The chicken necks. Her bright eyes couldn't help but stare at the big chicken leg in my bowl as she swallowed hard. What a fat chicken leg. I wonder if it tastes better than the chicken neck. The original owner of this body was selfish and guarded his food. Anyone who even glanced at his meat would get beaten and scolded. Terrified, my sister-in-law quickly poked my niece a few times. Looking at my little niece's adorable, greedy look, I felt like teasing her. I pretended to pick up the big chicken leg as if to gnaw on it. The little girl swallowed her saliva, trying hard to look away. She looked so incredibly pitiful. I couldn't bear to keep teasing her. Under her shocked gaze, I placed the chicken leg into her bowl. "Eat up. I've had so much of this stuff, I'm sick of it." The original body often stole money to eat and drink lavishly at the town's tavern, so these words wouldn't raise my family's suspicions. The little girl's mouth formed an O, and she pointed at herself with a little finger covered in chicken fat. "Second uncle, are you sure you're letting me eat this?" "What? You don't want it? Then I'll throw it out to feed the little yellow dog." I pretended to reach back for the chicken leg. If I want to treat my family well, I have to take it slow, so I don't break my character. Terrified of it being snatched away, the little girl quickly picked up the chicken leg and stuffed it into her mouth, mumbling unclearly, "No, I want to eat it." Watching her wolf it down, I added a few more pieces of chicken to her bowl. "Eat slower. If you choke and someone hears it, it'll make me lose face." The little girl's cheeks were bulging as she nodded repeatedly like a chick pecking at rice. My sister-in-law had a look of surprise in her eyes. It seemed she felt I wasn't so hateful anymore. My older brother didn't think much of it and simply gave all the large chunks of chicken in his bowl to his wife. "Wife, you are pregnant. Eat more of this chicken to nourish your body." Okay. Dad was eating his meat in big bites, tears shimmering in his cloudy old eyes. The picture of the whole family enjoying themselves happily together had finally become a reality. However, just as the atmosphere was getting warm, an abrupt voice suddenly rang out outside the door. "Brother Shun, we're here to break off the engagement." Wang, the village head of Wangjia village, pushed the door open and entered with his daughter, Wang Wan. Back then, Dad was on the battlefield and risked his life to save village head Wang's eldest son, which was how he ended up crippled. Village head Wang was deeply grateful and betrothed his daughter to the original body. But now, that Wang's eldest son had become a centurion. The Wang family had prospered, and their attitude turned cold, wanting to annul the marriage. Unfortunately, the original body was an ultimate simp. He once threw a massive tantrum over Wang Wanner and threatened, "Dad, if you guys dare to stop me and Wanner from being together, I'll kill you and my older brother. I'll clear away all the obstacles between me and Wanner." Now, village head Wang looked at the chicken bones on the table, his face gloomy. "Brother Shun, you can't blame me for being heartless. If you want to blame someone, blame your son, Shun, and for being completely worthless. Wanner is my only daughter. I can't be at ease entrusting her to a hooligan who only knows how to ruin the family, let alone bear to see her suffer with Shun and in the future." Dad gave a bitter smile and subconsciously looked at me. Then, lowering his posture, he stood up and offered his seat. "Brother Wang, have a seat. Rumors can be misleading. You mustn't believe the gossip. Look at the wild pheasant we're eating tonight. It's what Erlang hunted in the mountains today." Village head Wang snorted through his nose. "The things your son has done are the talk of the town. All the surrounding villages know about it. Brother Shun, don't try to persuade me anymore. Today, this engagement is definitely being called off." Dad's face stiffened, a hint of coldness flashing in his eyes. But he forcefully suppressed his anger and sent my brother and sister-in-law away. "Lucier, what are you standing around for? Go boil some tea. Dalong, you go help too." "But Dad, hurry up and go." My sister-in-law wisely kept her mouth shut and pulled my brother and daughter into the kitchen. Dad piled on a smile again and looked humbly at Wang Wan. Brother Wang, don't be angry. We can talk this over properly. After all, this is between the two children. As parents and elders, we should also listen to the children's thoughts, right? Vanya, what are your thoughts on your engagement with Erlang? Vang Van looked indifferent, not even lifting her eyelids. Orders of parents, words of matchmakers. I listened to my dad. I sneered inwardly. This woman looks average and has no respect for her elders. I wouldn't want her even if she were free. Dad's smile froze slightly, but he still patiently continued to persuade her. Warner, think about it carefully again. I promise you, once you marry into our Shun family, I absolutely won't let you suffer a bit of hardship. Moreover, Erlang said today that he knows he was wrong, and he will change his ways in the future. If he does anything wrong later on, I, as his father, will be the first to forbid it. Warner, as long as you marry into the Shun family, from now on, all the family's money will be managed by you. What do you think? Dad exhausted all his good words until his throat was dry. Brother Wang, if word of this broken engagement gets out, it will be bad for Warner's reputation too. Why don't you think more carefully about calling off the wedding? Only then did village head, Wang, slowly speak up. Stop saying these useless things. If the Shen family wants to continue this marriage, it's possible. But the 20 taels of betrothal money we agreed upon back then, you must hand over right now. Otherwise, forget about it. Knowing full well that our family's money had been completely stolen by me, he was just taking the opportunity to make things difficult. Hearing this, Dad gave a bitter smile. Brother Wang, give us a few days' grace. You also know that it's currently the busy farming season. After the crops are harvested, I will definitely bring the 20 taels and take my son to your house to present the betrothal gifts for Warner. How does that sound? Village head Wang mocked. No way. We had an agreement back then. Besides, if your family can't even produce a 20-tael betrothal gift, how can I entrust Warner to your Erling? As long as you're willing to give us an extension, when the time comes, I'll bring a 25-tael betrothal gift. How about that? I'm not an unreasonable person either. Giving you a few days' grace is fine. But when the time comes, the betrothal money must be 50 taels. If you can't even produce 50 taels, then I think this marriage should just be called off. Dad gasped sharply. Selling all the family's fields would barely be enough for 50 taels. I looked at their arrogant faces and suddenly spoke up with a cold smile. How can 50 taels be enough? Warner is as beautiful as an angel and exceptionally graceful. The betrothal gift must be at least 100 taels. Good. Then it's settled. Terrified that I would go back on my word, village head Wang smiled brightly but feigned difficulty. Brother Shun, you see, it's not that I'm not giving you face. It's that your Erling insists on this. In my opinion, let's just listen to your Erling. You have a 7-day limit to produce the 100-tael betrothal gift. Otherwise, the offer expires in 7 days. Dad widened his eyes. Wasn't it half a year? I smiled and readily agreed. Okay, 7 days it is. Then I'll take it that your Shun family has agreed. I've given Shun the chance to marry Warner. Make the most of it. Village head Wang smiled, revealing his blackened molars, and patted my shoulder in satisfaction. Dad closed his eyes in agony. 7 days, 100 taels. We couldn't gather that much, even if we smashed our pots and sold the iron. Wang Wan rolled her eyes, secretly cursing me for being an idiot. In the kitchen, hearing the 100 taels, my older brother collapsed to the ground in despair. It's over. It's completely over. I told you not to hold me back just now. If I'd been watching Erlang, I could have stopped him from running his mouth. Now look what's happened. Where are we going to scrape together 100 taels? My sister-in-law trembled with anger. Are you blaming me? Shannon was the one who voluntarily increased the betrothal money. What does that have to do with me? Don't look at me with those eyes. If I had known you were someone who twists right and wrong, I should have listened to my family last time and divorced you. But I consider that although you are filial, you aren't blindly filial. So I rejected my family's good intentions. Shun Ping. Ask your conscience, when I first married you, I didn't take a single penny of betrothal money. In 3 years, I bore you a daughter, and now I'm carrying another one in my belly. When the Shun family was in difficulty, I even brazenly went back to my maiden family to borrow grain. And now, my good intentions are treated like dirt. I can't live like this anymore. Grievously, my sister-in-law slumped onto the floor and began sobbing softly. My sensible niece hugged her mother. Don't cry, I'm scared. My older brother felt as if a knife was twisting in his heart. He let a sigh. Wife, I'm sorry, don't be mad. I'm the one who owes you and our daughter over the years. I originally thought Erlang had gotten better, but I never expected. Half a year ago, my brother-in-law stole the silver hairpin my mother gave me for my dowry. Did you think about it then? 2 days ago, my brother-in-law stole all the family's money. Did you think about it then? Every word pierced the heart. My older brother was left speechless. At this moment, I smilingly handed a pair of chopsticks to village head Wang. Father-in-law, you came at the perfect time. Today I went up the mountain and caught a pheasant. Have a meal with us before you go back. Warner, standing must be so tiring. Hurry and sit down next to me. Disgusted by the saliva on the chopsticks, village head Wang didn't take them. Wang Warner stood her ground in absolute disgust. I displeasedly pulled a long face. Father-in-law, Warner, why aren't you eating? Are you not giving me, Shunin, any face? So what if I don't give you face? You are nothing but a rogue and a scoundrel in the village. Me being willing to marry Warner to you is already a blessing you earned over 3 lifetimes. I fiercely slammed the table, turning hostile in an instant. Fine, you don't give me face and call me a rogue? If word of this gets out, where will I, Shunin, put my face? How am I supposed to get by? I'm not going through with this marriage. Erlang, watch what you say. Dad was terrified, terribly afraid I'd ruin the marriage. Village head Wang's smile froze, thinking he was hearing things. Shunin, you'd better think clearly. With your status as a hooligan, once you miss this opportunity, you won't get another chance. When the time comes, even if you kneel and beg me, I won't marry Warner to you. You're still calling me a hooligan. Dad, this marriage is canceled. Even if Wang Warner were given to me for free, I wouldn't marry her. Get out, get out, get out. The Wang father and daughter, having been chased out, looked at each other in dismay. Hearing the courtyard door slam shut, village head Wang spat in disgust. As expected of a hooligan, still talking about changing your ways. Only Yushin family members would believe such lies. Wang Warner stomped her foot in anger. You're still talking. The 100 taels we were about to get just flew away. Do you think things aren't bad enough? Without money, how are we supposed to flee the famine? The refugees are about to massacre the city. The Wang family originally wanted to use the marriage to make a fortune and run away. Now, their calculations have fallen through. Village head Wang's face was full of remorse. How was I supposed to know Shan would go crazy? You've dealt with him so many times, and know his temper. Why didn't you stop me when you were right beside me? Wang Warner choked with anger. Village head Wang rolled his eyes around. Now, the most urgent task is how to get the 100 taels of betrothal money from the Shun family. I've got it. After we go back to the village, to spread the word that in 7 days, you will be marrying Scholar Wang. Given Shun An's utter devotion to you, it's impossible for him to remain indifferent when he hears it. When the time comes, won't he obediently come begging you to marry him? By then, getting the 100 taels of betrothal money will be a piece of cake. Wang Warner gave a thumbs up. Dad, you're still the smart one. Meanwhile, in the Shun family's kitchen, my sister-in-law was just about to rush out and curse me, but she froze instantly when she heard my words. The gloom over my sister-in-law swept away, and she broke into a grin. My brother-in-law says he's not marrying. Doesn't that mean the 100 taels of betrothal money doesn't count anymore? My older brother rushed into the living room, full of worry. Dad was looking at me in utter disbelief. Erlang, marriage is a major event in life, not something to be joked about. Do you know what you were just saying? Of course I know. I said I'm not marrying Wang Warner. I looked at Dad and explained seriously, Dad, for all those absurd things I did in the past. After waking up from this coma, I truly realized my mistakes. I genuinely want to repent. Wang Warner coming to our door with her dad this time wasn't because she genuinely wanted to marry me, but because they were after our money. A woman so obsessed with profit is better left unmarried. 100 taels. With that kind of money, what kind of woman couldn't I marry? I could even marry the daughter of an official. Dad's eyes grew moist, finally convinced that I had truly turned over a new leaf. My older brother grabbed my shoulders. Erlang, since you aren't marrying Wang Wan, then why did you just now? Of course it was to play them. Since they had the nerve to ask for 100 taels, they should have expected me to refuse. After today, when the surrounding villages hear that village head Wang is demanding 100 taels to marry off his daughter, who do you think would dare to marry her? My older brother was suddenly enlightened and gave a thumbs up. Erlang, you really are smarter and more clever than me. Your mind works fast, but don't be too sad. Wang Wana wasn't a good match. In the future, Dad and I will definitely find you a girl even better than Wang Wana to be your wife. I smiled helplessly. Brother, I'm not in a rush to get married. How can you not be in a rush? How long have you been delayed by that vixen Wang Wana? You can't miss the age from marriage anymore. My older brother quickly covered his mouth and looked at me cautiously. Erlang, I didn't mean to speak ill of Wang Wan. I just felt indignant and felt it wasn't worth it for you. That's why I spoke out of turn. Brother, you didn't say anything wrong. From now on, you don't need to walk on eggshells around me. Say whatever you want to say. However, I just ended a terrible relationship, so I'm not interested in this right now. Besides, the most urgent task is figuring out how to pay the 20 taels of corvée tax. Speaking of the corvée tax, the whole family fell silent. Dad held his unlit tobacco pipe in his mouth. My leg injury is almost healed. I can go hunting in the mountains tomorrow. If I'm lucky, I can scrape together 20 taels in half a month. No way, my older brother said anxiously. A bone injury takes 100 days to heal. Dad, making money to pay the corvée tax is important, of course. But your leg is more important. I added another sentence. If your leg is crippled and you can't earn money, how am I supposed to throw my weight around in the village in the future? How will I hold my head high in front of Zhang Ergu and the others? Why don't you teach me how to hunt, Dad? Today, when I went hunting in the mountains, it felt pretty good. Quite impressive, actually. I have a divination system. Hunting is a piece of cake for me. Dad thought I was acting up again, but seeing that I was willing to learn, he readily agreed. Sure, you have some martial arts skills in you. You're naturally suited for this line of work. My sister-in-law walked out with red eyes. Then what about the corvée tax? It's already been decided. When the time comes, I'll go serve the corvée labor. Enough. Shut up. My older brother interrupted sternly. He would rather die in battle himself than have his crippled father risk his life. Looking at these closest relatives, warmth flowed through my heart. I must find a way to earn these 20 taels. Late at night, Dad kept me in the courtyard and carefully imparted his hunting knowledge. I learned with extreme diligence, while simultaneously looking forward to tomorrow's system hexagram. The next day, I woke up bright and early. Last night, I studied hunting with Dad until midnight. Yawning, I used my mind to summon the divination system. The center of the panel displayed that today's divination count was 1. I clicked start without hesitation. The count dropped to 0. Soon, the divination was complete. Today's fortune, average. Minor auspiciousness. Xiaomao Mountains. Marsh Valley contains a 3-year-old ginseng root. Go there today to dig it up and gain a bountiful harvest. Minor inauspiciousness. Xiaomao Mountains Black Cliff Cave. Currently has a solitary, injured wild boar searching for food. Bring a hunting bow and you may gain a harvest. But be careful of the boar's counterattack. Major inauspiciousness. A valley on the southwest peak of Xiaomao Mountain. A mother wolf has just given birth to 3 cubs. She is physically weak. You may bring your hunting bow there and gain a harvest. But you need to be careful of the mother wolf's counterattack and the ambush of the male wolf out searching for food. Looking at the hexagram lots that were similar to yesterday's, I couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. It seems the content of the hexagrams won't change every day. What a pity. I originally thought about relying on the hexagrams to pick up easy bargains, hoping I could earn enough for the 20 taels within half a month. Right now, this hope seems to have fallen through. However, when I looked at the second hexagram, I smiled slightly. Minor inauspiciousness. Yesterday it was medium inauspiciousness. Today it changed to minor inauspiciousness. Is the wild boar injured? I pondered thoughtfully. Could it be based on my combat strength? The original body had learned a few amateur martial arts moves from Dad, but facing a wild boar, even an injured one, was extremely dangerous. Although hunting a wild boar could be exchanged for a tael of silver, I still played it safe and chose the first hexagram. The word bountiful on the hexagram was extremely eye-catching. For the system to give such a prompt, the value of this ginseng must absolutely not be low. I picked up the hunting bow, a bamboo basket, and a shovel, getting ready to head out. But I was stopped by my sister-in-law, who was busy in the kitchen. Erlang, are you going into the mountains to hunt? Eat breakfast before you go. My sister-in-law looked at me, fully geared up with quite some surprise. The original body used to sleep until the sun was high in the sky. Now, going into the mountains early for days in a row. She probably thought I was so heartbroken by Wangwan that I grew up overnight. I'm not hungry, sister-in-law. I need to make a trip into the mountains. Once the food is ready, you don't need to wait for me. Hearing the commotion, my older brother also came out with a coat draped over his shoulders. Erlang, going into the mountains again? You don't need to worry about the corvée tax. There's always a way out when things look bleak. Dad, and I will figure something out. My older brother thought I was worrying about the tax money, and he even glared resentfully at my sister-in-law, blaming her for being loose-lipped last night and bringing up the corvée tax, poking at my sore spot of stealing money. My sister-in-law had a face full of innocence. I took in both of their expressions. Big brother doesn't blame sister-in-law. It was my own idea to go hunting in the mountains. I figured I had good luck yesterday, so I thought I'd try my luck in the mountains again today. Only then did big brother look away, but he still stopped me. There's no rush either. We can go up the mountain together after we eat. I flatly refused my brother. Sister-in-law could give birth at any moment. She needs someone close by her side. Besides, I'm really not hungry. It's better to go up early before the sun gets too hot. If I get hungry, I can always come back to eat later. I'm going after the ginseng. If I bring Big Brother along, I won't be able to explain how I can find treasures so accurately. While Big Brother hesitated, I strode out of the courtyard gate. Just 2 steps out, my little niece's cute figure chased after me. Her big eyes were full of anticipation. Second uncle, we have meat to eat again today. I smiled bitterly inside, but didn't show it on my face. I tried my best to reply as I headed up the mountain without looking back. 5 consecutive years of drought have made the mountains insanely hot. I walked for a full 3 hours. You could wring water out of my clothes. Only then did I reach the swamp valley indicated by the hexagram. The swamp had long since dried up. The mud was cracked 2 inches deep. Thankfully, that ginseng plant was growing under the shade of a towering old tree. There was still some moss left around it. I locked onto its position at a glance. After drinking enough water and regaining my strength, I took out the red string I had prepared. People always say you have to tie a red string first when digging for ginseng, for fear it has gained sentience and will run away. I'd rather believe it than not. I tied a bough around it before I started digging. I hunched over and dug for a full 4 hours. My sweat soaked the dirt in front of me. Before a complete ginseng plant finally emerged from the ground, I let out a long breath. So tiring. This isn't a job for humans. If I knew it'd be this tiring, I might as well have gone to hunt wild boars. But thinking of that ominous hexagram, I'd rather play it safe. You only get one life. I absolutely won't gamble with my life. I wrapped the ginseng in the ash I prepared before leaving, to prevent moisture loss. By the time I finished, it was already noon. My stomach was growling from hunger, so I headed down the mountain. Just as I reached the west end of the village, I ran into Old Man Lee carrying a shoulder pole. Second son of the Shun family. The sun must have risen from the west today. You actually went hunting in the mountains. Did you catch any wild game? My hunting of pheasant yesterday, after brewing for a night, was already known by the whole village. I pretended not to hear his teasing and threw my hands up. Uncle Lee, as you can see, I'm empty-handed. I got nothing. The old man was stunned. The original owner of my body used to call him Cripple Lee. This Uncle Lee shocked him so much he kept muttering to himself. The sun really did rise from the west today. A few village women curiously came over to look at my basket. Seeing it completely empty, they finally looked away in satisfaction. Auntie Zhang smiled and comforted me. Shun Erlang, don't be discouraged either. The village has indeed had severe droughts these past few years. The prey in the mountains has long been hunted out. You just got lucky yesterday. Shun Erlang. Just being able to go into the mountains to find prey isn't bad at all. A few days ago, your Uncle Zhang the hunter went into the mountains for half a month, and also came back empty-handed. Right now, you really are better than Zhang Ergu and Wang Jinbao in the village. Listen to Andy's advice. Don't hang out with those two anymore. Live a good life, and your dad and the rest can relax a bit. I politely chuckled and made small talk with them. Before leaving, I deliberately nodded and smiled at a woman wearing patched linen clothes in the crowd. That was Annie Zhang from next door. She used to kindly help my original self out a lot in the past, but the bastard had shoved her away. Seeing me so polite now, the villagers looked at each other in dismay. Seeing is believing. It really is just as Shan Huaishan said. His second son has changed his ways. All the family's silver has been squandered away. If he still didn't mend his ways, no matter how much wealth the Shin family had, it wouldn't be enough for him to ruin, seeing as they have to pay the corvée tax in half a month. Where's the Shun family? Go to get 20 taels? Most likely someone from the family will have to do the corvée labor. Mentioning corvée labor, the villagers dispersed with heavy hearts. Pushing open the house door, I set the basket down on the ground. My little niece leaned over curiously. Seeing the basket empty, she pouted in disappointment. Second uncle, you didn't catch any game in the mountains? No meat to eat today. Hearing this, my big brother immediately darkened his face and scolded. Xiaolin, shut up. Where would prey be so easy to hunt? The village hunter uncles stay in the mountains for half a month, and still often come back empty-handed. Your second uncle is covered in sweat. He definitely tried hard. Hurry up and go pour your second uncle a bowl of water. The little girl obediently brought over some water. Second uncle, drink some water. I chug it all in one breath. Feeling hot, I tug at my sticky clothes. Just as I drew a bucket of water to wash up, I heard my sister-in-law's worried voice. Dear, we don't have much water left at home now. It's barely enough for today's drinking and washing. Go find the village chief later and ask, and see if our family can draw water from the village's old well a day early. The village's old well is almost dry. They only distribute 1 bucket of water per head each day. If you need more, you have to spend money to buy it. 1 bucket is 10 coins, which is more expensive than meat. I looked at the bucket of the family's last remaining water in my hand, and suddenly felt it burning my hands. But I really couldn't stand this sour stench on me. Thinking of the ginseng in my arms, I just spoke up. Big brother, don't make it difficult for the village chief. Spend the money and buy 2 more buckets of water for the house. As for the money, just buy it on credit first. And pay him back after I return from town. Big brother frowned. Where are you going to get the money? Don't worry about that. Just listen to me. The weather is dry, and sister-in-law could go into labor any time. There's no harm in storing more water at home. Big brother still wanted to argue. But Dad, sitting on the doorstep, had the final say. Erling is right. Dalong, listen to your brother this time. Hearing that I was thinking of her, a hint of emotion flashed in my sister-in-law's eyes. I took a refreshing bath. Not a drop of the bathwater was wasted. Sister-in-law caught it all to feed the chickens and water the vegetables. Before I left, Dad pressed 10 copper coins into my hand. Take this money to the village chief's house to rent an ox cart. Dad knew it was hot and the journey was long. He still cared for me, reminding me to hurry back before dark. Gripping the heavy copper coins, I said, I know, Dad. I'll hurry home as soon as I can. When I arrived at the village chief's house to rent the ox cart, the chief saw I was alone and was quite surprised. Shin boy, why didn't you bring Zhang Ergu and the others this time? Uncle Lee, I've cut ties with them. From now on, I will never collude with them to do petty theft in the village again. The chief looked utterly stunned. He was not only shocked that I called him uncle, but even more shocked that I want to turn over a new leaf. Watching me drive the cart away, he muttered to himself, the Shin boy really has changed his ways. It's actually a good thing for the village. An hour later, I arrived in town. For some reason, the town was filled with many out-of-towners and beggars. Just as I was wondering why, I heard an out-of-town merchant recounting in horror. A few days ago, a huge number of refugees flooded into Xianyang City. They burned, killed, and looted in the city, stopping at nothing. We barely escaped from there with our lives. You didn't see it, but it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say the scene was littered with corpses. My heart skipped a beat. The government didn't do anything? There are thousands of refugees. How could the government's few people manage? They just put on a show, but they couldn't hold out after a few days. The merchant lowered his voice, looking panicked. According to rumors, the refugees were let in by the government themselves. Otherwise, with the city walls, those refugees wouldn't have been able to get in, no matter how capable they were. Little brother, you look like a kind soul. I urge you to hurry up and run for your life. The world is about to fall into chaos, and you're still chatting. What time do you think it is? We bought all our provisions. Hurry up, and let's hit the road. The merchant's wife urged him anxiously. The family hurriedly fled for their lives. I watched their retreating figures, my mind reeling with shock. I originally thought it was just a severe drought. I never expected the situation to have deteriorated this much. In an instant, I suddenly understood why Village Chief Wang was so eager to come to our door last night to break the engagement and demand money. He clearly knew about the refugees in Xianyang City long ago. He was trying to treat my Shun family like suckers before fleeing the famine, ripping us off mercilessly. The original owner's death might very well have been orchestrated by the Wang family. I made a note of this score with the Wang family. A chill flashed in my eyes. At the same time, I was glad I came to town today. Otherwise, I wouldn't even know how I died. Having gained a new lease on life, I absolutely do not want to die again. Xianyang City is in chaos. How much longer can Anyang City hold out? The merchant's words alarmed me. If the refugees were truly let in by the government, then we absolutely cannot stay in this place anymore. I suppressed my unease and didn't stop walking. I went straight into a reasonably priced clinic. I have to hoard food as quickly as possible before everyone else realizes. Shopkeeper, do you buy ginseng here? The shopkeeper looked at me in surprise. We do. Does this brother have ginseng to sell? I pulled out the ginseng and placed it on the counter. 3-year-old ginseng. Make me an offer, shopkeeper. The shopkeeper picked up the ginseng, his eyes full of shock. The ginseng's root system was preserved extremely well. This was definitely not something an ordinary villager could achieve. He originally wanted to fool me, but seeing that I knew my stuff, he had no choice but to speak up. The roots are kept intact, but a 3-year-old ginseng's medicinal properties aren't strong. I can only calculate it for you at the price of second-grade ginseng. For this one ginseng stalk, 5 taels and 235 coins. What do you think? My sharp eyes caught the fleeting nervousness on his face. I decisively shook my head. No, 10 taels of silver. Actually, I was stunned when I heard over 5 taels. No wonder the hexagram said it would be bountiful. Bountiful is an understatement. If I dug up 3 more stalks, it would be enough for the corvée tax. I was glad I didn't go hunt wild boars. Otherwise, I would have risked my life just for a little over a tael of silver. The shopkeeper's mouth twitched. Brother, where did you learn to offer prices like that? Seeing that he was hurting over the cost, I grabbed the ginseng straight back, wrapped it up, and turned to leave. Just tell me if you'll buy it or not. I'll buy it. But your asking price is way too steep. Adding more than 4 taels of silver. That's over half a year's expenses for an entire household. Brother, is the price still negotiable? 10 taels of silver is really too much for me to give. Although the roots of your ginseng are intact, the age isn't very high. Tell you what, I won't make much off you either. Let's settle at 7 taels, okay? I kept walking without stopping. 8 taels, I really can't go any higher. I continued walking out. The shopkeeper gritted his teeth and shouted through clenched teeth, 8.5 taels. I absolutely can't go any higher. Sell it if you still want to. If not, I won't force you. I knew I had reached his bottom line, so I turned around and returned to the counter. Deal. It's settled. Looking at his pained expression, I smiled. Shopkeeper, I don't even want 8.5 taels. You only need to give me 8 taels, but you give me 2 bottles of external wound medicine for free. Does that work? The shopkeeper had barely rejoiced before his face turned green upon hearing the second half. A bottle of wound medicine sells for at least half a tael of silver. I'm already taking a loss on this deal. I can only give you 1 bottle at most, along with the 8 taels. I wagged my index finger. No way. It must be 2 bottles. Otherwise, this deal is off. Moreover, shopkeeper, you won't lose out by agreeing. After this, whenever I dig up medicinal herbs, I will prioritize selling them to you. The shopkeeper was terrified of my haggling methods and repeatedly waved his hand in agreement. Young man, you win. But we have a deal. Next time you dig up herbs of such fine quality, you must sell them to me first. Clutching the 8 taels of silver and 2 bottles of wound medicine, I left the clinic thoroughly satisfied. Afterwards, I headed straight for the grain shop. It was currently the busy farming season, and very few people in town knew the news about the refugees. The grain shop boss, watching the households buying in bulk, was grinning from ear to ear. I didn't dress like a wealthy person, so to avoid drawing attention, I intentionally picked the cheap items. Boss, give me 1 pickle of millet, half a pickle of coarse flour, and 10 caddies of salt. Salt was expensive, but with a great drought across the land, it was indispensable on the road to escaping famine. Seeing that I wanted a lot, the boss smiled brightly. All right, young man, that'll be 1 tael, 7 mace, and 64 coins in total. Since you're buying so much, I'll waive the fraction and just charge you 1 tael and 7 mace. No need, just charge me what it costs. In half an hour, help me deliver it under the old banyan tree at the edge of town. I still need to go to other shops to buy more. I can't carry it all while running all over the streets. Before 5 p.m., I rushed to several grain shops. In total, I bought 300 caddies of millet, 200 caddies of coarse flour, and 100 caddies of fine flour. It cost me 3 taels and 2 mace. Looking at the remaining 4+ taels of silver in my hand, I couldn't help but sigh at how fast money disappears. But looking at the cart full of grain, I felt it was worth it. The price of grain is bound to get higher every day. Thinking of my little niece's sad face when she wanted to eat meat, I spent another tael of silver on roast chicken, pork, ribs, and pork fat for rendering oil before I left. I also spent 20 coins to eat a bowl of dumplings and bought some candied hawthorn sticks. Only then did I hum a little tune and drive the ox cart home. At dusk, I passed by Zhang Ergu's house. This scumbag was squatting at the door. Seeing my cart full of grain, his eyes turned green with greed. He jumped right out to block my path. Brother Shun, with so much grain, give my family half. Anyway, your family can't finish it all anytime soon. Besides, my family's harvest was poor this year. Your sister-in-law's health is poor. We have nothing but plain tea and simple food every day. I was just agonizing over how we'd get by in the coming days. And here you are delivering grain to my door. As he spoke, he reached out toward the cart. Without hesitation, I lashed his arm with my whip. I scolded coldly. A good dog doesn't block the way. Did you pay for this? Who said this grain was a gift for you? Shameless. These two were the real culprits who caused the original owner's death. They scammed him out of over 50 taels of silver. Why would I show him any respect? Zhang Ergu jumped far back in pain, baring his teeth. Shunin, how dare you insult and hit me? I'm hitting exactly you. Don't play dumb. If you dare touch even a fraction of the grain on my cart, even if you only take a single grain of rice, I'll break your arms and legs. And since you be a thief, I'd be completely in the right if word got out. Which eye of yours saw me stealing from you? I was just taking it. Zhang Ergu refused to yield, but he was murmuring in his heart. In the past, if he casually flattered and fooled him, the original owner would obediently hand things over. Why wasn't this trick working now? Taking it? This grain. I bought with my own money. If you want it, I can see fit, for the sake of our past brotherhood, to waive the delivery fee. I'll sell you a caddy of millet for 8 coins. If you want half, that'll be 3 taels and 2 mace. Payment upon delivery. I held out my hand for the money. Zhang Ergu's face turned livid with anger. In your dreams, millet is 4 coins a caddy. I doubled the asking price. Where would he get the money? I sneered. If giving me money is a dream, then you better stop dreaming too. Even if you kneel down and beg me for this deal, I still won't sell it to you. Zhang Ergu's eyes turned bloodshot. Thinking I was weak and incompetent, he reached out again, intending to unload the grain directly. I viciously lashed his limbs with a whip. He writhed in pain on the cart and rolled into the middle of the road. You're doing this for real? A good dog doesn't block the road. Get out of the way. Zhang Ergu rolled his eyes and lay spread eagle on the ground, shamelessly refusing to yield. If you have the guts, run me over. He hadn't been able to find a sucker to scam out of money these past few days, so he was desperate from hunger and set his sights on my grain. I curled my lips into a sneer. Fine, you're the one who asked for it. I cracked the whip on the ox's back, and the cart rolled straight forward. Seeing that I wasn't stopping the cart, Zhang Ergu scrambled out of the way in terror. He dodged, but my cart was faster. The wheel drove straight over one of his legs that he hadn't managed to pull away in time. A sharp shriek echoed through Xinghua village. Shunin, you actually did it. Earlier, I just wanted you to leave half a cart of grain, but now you intentionally ran over and broke my leg. Now, even if you leave the whole cart of grain, it won't be enough. You pay for my leg. Compensate me with at least 20 taels. Zhang Ergu spun around in pain, hugging his knee, his eyes full of malice. My expression remained unchanged. Are you sure you only want a cart of grain and 20 taels? No, it's 50 taels. Are you sure? 50 taels. You heard wrong. It's 100 taels. I sneered internally. This scoundrel really dared to demand an exorbitant price. Seeing a doctor in the village costs a dozen coins at most. I changed my tune. I am willing to pay 10 coins. To anyone who punches Zhang Ergu once. I will settle the payment right here on the spot. Zhang Ergu's screams had drawn quite a few villagers. Hearing there was money to be made, everyone's eyes lit up. Andy Zhang was the first to step forward. Shimboy, is that true? You're not tricking us. But spots are limited. Only 20 spots available. Taking out the silver. Auntie Zhang didn't say another word. She rushed up and slapped Zhang Ergu's face twice. Smack, smack. Sorry about that. I got impulsive and gave an extra slap. Shinboy, I slapped him twice. Shouldn't I get 20 coins? My fault. I didn't make it clear earlier. Maximum of 1 slap per person. Die chicane spitzlep. I readily paid her 10 coins. Annie Zhang grabbed the money and ran home in a rush. Kids, come out and beat up Zhang Ergu. The villagers instantly erupted into chaos. They swarmed him like a hive of bees. Old Man Lee also hopped up on his crippled leg and, thinking of his stolen chickens and ducks, used his shoe covered in chicken dung to viciously kick Zhang Ergu twice. In just half a quarter of an hour, the wicked Zhang Ergu was beaten until he barely had half a breath left. By the time the village chief rushed over, Zhang Ergu had already lost consciousness. Zhang Ergu's mother threw herself over her son, crying to the heavens, Village chief, you have to get justice for my Ergu. He's been beaten half to death by the Shin boy. Boo-hoo, my Ergu is so pitiful. He just saw Shunin bringing back a cart of grain from town, asked a couple of questions out of curiosity, and then got beaten by the whole village. Is there any justice left? Is there any law left? I don't want to live anymore. I threw my hands up. Uncle Village Chief, on my way home from buying grain in town today, I was spotted by Zhang Ergu in broad daylight. He tried to steal my family's entire cart of grain, and even declared that if he saw it, it belonged to him. Uncle, you be the judge. Bullshit. My Ergu is an upright person. How could he do such a thing as stealing? You clearly just hold a grudge against my Ergu, so you struck him first. Someone in the crowd spat. Bah. Zhang Ergu is an upright person? Then sows can climb trees. Zhang Ergu's mother glared at me fiercely. Shun family brat. Even if your family takes out 100 taels now, it's not enough to compensate for a single finger of mine. It has to be at least 500 taels. Everyone gasped. Aunt Zhang cursed loudly. Mrs. Liu, you're truly shameless. A toad with feathers stuck on it. What kind of beast do you think you are? How dare you ask for 500 taels? Besides, we were also the ones who beat up Zhang Ergu today. If you have the guts, try to extort us too. It's exactly your Zhang Ergu, who usually leeches so much off the Shin boy, and you still have the nerve to ask for money? Plus, I saw all just now. It was your Zhang Ergu who wanted to steal Shun An's cart of grain. Everyone echoed in agreement, firmly supporting me. Li Jing spoke with authority. Mrs. Liu, you've heard it all. Your son has committed many sins. He brought this upon himself through his own misdeeds. This has nothing to do with Shun An. I say we drop this matter. Zhang Erge's mother threw a tantrum in defiance. My son was beaten unconscious. We can't just let it go. Li Jing, if you won't handle it, I'll go report it to the authorities. Helplessly, I chuckled. Fine, let's report it. Come with me right now. Let's go to the yamen. I'll lead the way. I turned and shouted to the villagers, everyone, who has time right now to help me carry Zhang Ergu to the yamen? I'll pay 20 copper coins per person. And Zhang immediately responded, count me in. Old man, Li didn't want to fall behind either. Zhang Erge's mother had originally just wanted to extort money. Seeing that I was serious about reporting to the officials, she instantly panicked. She feared her son would actually lose his life if he entered the yamen. She desperately shielded Zhang Ergu. She gritted her teeth at Aunt Zhang. Woman, what are you doing? We share the same surname, after all, and belong to the same clan. Must you side with an outsider today and favor that bastard boy from the Shun family? Aunt Zhang showed no mercy. Normally, your Zhang Ergu steals our property. He killed the chicken I worked so hard to raise for the new year. When I came to your door to reason with you back then, why didn't you say we were one family? I find it disgraceful that he even shares my surname. Who cares about being relatives with your family? Zhang Ergu's mother slumped to the ground in anger, rolling around and wailing, ouch. Bullying people. Is there no justice? Is there no law? Li Jing, are you going to do something about this or not? Li Jing looked at the furious villagers and sighed at me. Shun, boy, it's getting late. Even if we take him to the yamen now, the city gates won't be open. Why don't we just drop this? We can't drop it, Zhang Ergu's mother and I said in unison. She stared at me viciously. My Ergu was miserably harmed by him. His leg is ruined. If he doesn't pay for the medical treatment today, this matter won't be settled like this. I looked at her with cold eyes. Uncle Li Jing, you saw it too. It's not that I don't want to show you respect, but if I listen to you and let this go today, Zhang Ergu's whole family will definitely pester me in the future. If this drags on, by the time Zhang Ergu commits theft again, I'll be in the wrong even when I'm in the right. I paused and shouted loudly. I didn't think it through just now. If we go to the county yamen now, we won't be able to enter the city gates. We can only go tomorrow morning, but I don't want to wait until tomorrow to carry him over. To avoid any unforeseen complications, I'll add another 20 copper coins for anyone willing to help. 40 coins total? I'll sign up. And Zhang was the first to step up. Count me in. I don't want the money. That bastard Zhang Ergu. I want to avenge my son who died on the battlefield. I'll go too, and I don't want money. Widows who had been bullied by Zhang Ergu. And other women stepped forward with red eyes one after another. There were dozens of them in total. Their long-suppressed anger was ignited. They wished they could swallow Zhang Ergu alive. I was secretly shocked. This beast had truly committed many evils. It was a dead end for him. Zhang Ergu's mother was completely terrified, feeling her husband's dark and piercing gaze. She was frightened into kneeling before Li Jing, kowtowing desperately. Li Jing, I won't report to the officials. I really won't report it. What happened today is because my son was a poor judge of character, calling that malicious Shun boy his brother, and suffering these injuries in vain. Li Jing, I truly won't report it. Please say a few fair words for my Ergu. He's been beaten unconscious by everyone, and everyone has vented their anger. Please let my Ergu off with his life. Li Jing looked at me. Shen family boy, what do you think? I threw the question back to the crowd. What does everyone decide? I'll listen to everyone. To the yamen. We must report it. An old woman whose daughter-in-law was driven to death by Zhang Ergu shouted through gritted teeth. After a moment, Zhang Ergu's mother's forehead was broken from kowtowing, and blood dyed the soil in front of her red. The Zhang family was a large household in the village, with a full 20 members. But at this moment, aside from her kneeling and begging for mercy, the rest of them just watched coldly. Zhang Ergu's father found it disgraceful. His eldest brother's family had long harbored resentment due to their parents' favoritism. His second brother was even secretly cursing for Zhang Ergu to die, so he could monopolize their parents' affection. Yet they forgot that they shared both honor and disgrace. Li Jing was tactful in dealing with people. Seeing that the villagers' emotions had calmed down, he spoke to me. Shen family boy, you call me uncle, so you must give me some face. It's better to squash enmity than to keep it alive. We're all from the same village. We see each other every day. Zhang Ergu is currently unconscious and has received his punishment. Let's just drop this matter. But if he does it again, Uncle will definitely teach him a lesson. Today I had suffered no loss, and seeing some people showing unbearable expressions, I smiled slightly. Uncle, you are the Li Jing. I'll listen to you. Li Jing secretly cursed me for being as clever as a monkey, but was also startled by how clear my eyes were, no longer holding their past murderous intent. Even he couldn't see through my thoughts. He took the way out I offered. It's getting late. Zhang Ergu has already paid the price. And the Shin boy won't pursue this any further. Everyone, for the sake of being fellow villagers, forgive him this once. If anyone in the village reports his misconduct in the future, as the Lijiang, I will be the first to drag him to the officials. What does that sound? I secretly cursed the old fox. He was using me as a scapegoat. But I didn't care. I had already formed a feud with the Zhang family anyway. Now that I wasn't reporting to the officials, everyone lost their backbone and dispersed one after another. By the time my eldest brother came running over with a worried look, the crowd had mostly scattered. He dashed to me in a few steps and protectively pulled me behind him. He stared indignantly at Zhang Ergu's mother, Mrs. Liu. In broad daylight, you're bullying my brother because he's young, extorting money and targeting our family. His eyes seemed to say, try it if you dare, I'll fight you. With my life. Zhang Ergu's mother was already barely holding on, and she fainted directly from my brother's roar. My brother was stunned. Everyone is watching. I didn't touch her. Don't extort me. The remaining villagers were speechless. They were all watching. Looking at my overly protective brother, I smiled. Brother, why are you here? I heard you got beaten up. How are you? Are you hurt? The messenger stood off to the side, digging out his ears. He had clearly said that I beat someone up. I was utterly speechless. My brother's ability to lie through his teeth showed he had more potential to be a ruffian than I did. Seeing the worry filling his eyes, I explained the whole process of the incident. I patted the grain cart behind me. Brother, I have something to discuss with you and father. Let's head back. Seeing my serious expression, my brother nodded immediately. After returning home, father was shocked and confused when he saw a cart full of grain. Erlang, where did you get the money to buy so much grain? I handed the meat I bought to my sister-in-law, who came out to greet us. Sister-in-law, this is pheasant and pork ribs. You can cook whatever you see fit for dinner. Beaming with joy, my sister-in-law went into the kitchen. I unloaded the grain and lowered my voice. Father, I was just about to talk to you about this. Wait until I finish unloading the grain. Then brother and I will go to your room. Father had been a centurion and immediately sensed something was wrong. He nodded in agreement, entered the room, and closed the door. My brother couldn't contain his curiosity. Erlang, what is it you need to tell father and me that we couldn't discuss outside? Brother, this matter is of grave importance. We can't let sister-in-law and the others know for now. Father glared at my brother, making him shut up. I looked serious. Father, brother, I dug up a ginseng root on the mountain today. This cart of grain was bought with the money from selling it. This is the leftover money. I stuffed the remaining money into father's hands and revealed the news about the rioters. The merchant didn't seem to be lying. The number of beggars and outsiders in town has indeed increased. It's better to believe it's true than to assume it's false. That's also why I bought a cart of grain. Before coming home, Xianyang City is in chaos. Rioters are burning, killing, and looting. Corpses are strewn everywhere. My words sent shockwaves through the hearts of my father and brother. Father remained somewhat composed, but my brother's jaw dropped in shock. It took him a long time to find his voice. Second brother, are you sure you didn't miss here? I nodded solemnly. It's absolutely true. This concerns the lives and safety of our entire family. I wouldn't dare hide anything, so I took matters into my own hands, bought the grain, and rushed back home. Brother, if you don't believe me, come with me to town tomorrow. Anyang City has been in a persistent drought. The commoners have long been squeezed dry. A refugee uprising is inevitable. I even suspect that King Ling deliberately allowed this. Wanted to use the refugees to throw Great Yong into chaos. But this method is too cruel, and the spilled water cannot be gathered back. Father, who is experienced and knowledgeable, enlightened my bewildered brother. Dalong, there's been 5 years of drought, and taxes and corvée labor are heavy. How many families do you think in Xinhua village can pay their taxes normally this year? The rioters were originally ordinary commoners, but forced by circumstances, they have become bloodthirsty. They burn, kill, loot, and even resort to cannibalism. Such people can no longer be called normal human beings. My brother broke out in a cold sweat, his legs trembling. Father, what should we do next? Father looked at me. Erlang, what do you think? I didn't beat around the bush. Father, I suggest our whole family flees the famine. Setting aside the issue of Xianyang City, I want to ask you 2 questions first. Is the environment in Xinhua village still suitable for living? How much longer can a century-old well in the village keep producing water? My brother thought along the lines of my words, his face growing even paler. With successive years of severe drought, the grain fields of Long turned into arid lands. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say we'll have no harvest at all. The old well in the village only has 3 springs producing water now, and the output has drastically decreased. I reckon it will dry up in half a year at most. 1 bucket of water a day isn't enough to survive. Right. The environment here is no longer suitable for human habitation. Fleeing the famine is necessary. I snuffed out their last shred of luck. Father hardened his heart. Erlang, Father supports your proposal. But fleeing is easier said than done. Executing it requires a massive amount of manpower and resources. And money, now that your sister-in-law is heavily pregnant. We must, before we flee, make ample preparations. And before Anyang City falls to the rioters, we need to hoard as much grain as possible and get ready in advance. I revealed my plan for fleeing. Father, I've calculated it. It will take at least 3 days for the rioters to reach Anyang City. Xianyang City is just preparing for war. They won't possibly attack Anyang City within 7 days. But we have to prepare for both scenarios. I looked at my brother. Our family's financial resources are limited right now. Brother, you're the only one in the family who knows carpentry. Sister-in-law could give birth at any time on the road. So we need at least 2 push carts. 1 for the grain, and 1 to handle sudden emergencies. Therefore, you must, within 3 days, build 2 push carts. My brother gritted his teeth and agreed, no problem. I'll do my best. I knew this was difficult, but the family didn't have money to buy an ox cart, and 300 caddies of grain wouldn't last long either. I didn't dare rely solely on the divination system. How much money could I earn a day? Destiny had to be in our own hands. I planned to go to the town or county seat tomorrow to tell fortunes, to see if I could draw a more valuable fortune stick, and earn more money to buy an ox cart. Father added, I will make a trip to the county seat tomorrow to find an old friend and inquire about news from Xianyang City. Erlang, you come with me tomorrow. Grain prices in the county seat should be a bit cheaper than in town. Dalong, you stay home and rush the construction of the push carts. Okay. My brother had no objections. I raised an eyebrow and agreed. It was a good opportunity to go tell fortunes in the county seat. But thinking that the system's divination sticks wouldn't refresh unless drawn, a trace of ruthlessness flashed in my eyes. Tonight, I had to kill that solitary wild boar to free up a slot for a new divination stick. Father, brother, I have one more thing to tell you. These past 2 days on the mountain, I saw a lone, injured wild boar. Since we were going to the county seat tomorrow, how about brother and I'd go hunt it tonight? My brother's eyes lit up and excitedly tried to pull me away. Father stopped us. Both of you stop right there. Eat dinner first. Then we'll go fetch Butcher Gao and a few hunters from a village to go together. Father's expression was grave. Wild boars aren't as easy to kill as you think. Even if the boar is injured, its attacks are still fierce and reckless. Fleeing the famine is imminent. We can't afford an accident over a wild boar. An extra person is an extra ounce of strength. I understood Father's concerns, which also confirmed the threat indicated by the bad fortune stick. So I decisively agreed. My brother nodded in agreement and nervously asked, Father, can I tell the Liu family about fleeing the famine? And I want to bring my wife's maiden family along. Father didn't object. You can, tomorrow morning, find a time to inform her family and have them hoard more grain these next 2 days. We will set off together when the time comes. I hesitated for a moment. Father, should we tell Uncle Li Jing about fleeing and let him inform the village so everyone can flee together? That way, we can look out for each other on the road. And we won't be easily targeted. Bring the whole village to flee together? Father frowned in disagreement. Inappropriate. Everyone has lived here for generations. Their roots are in Xinghua village. Not to mention, would people believe it if we said Anyang City is the rioters' next target? Would people even believe it if we told them? Asking people who have lived here for generations to flee to an unfamiliar place is easier said than done. Father feared that good intentions might lead to bad results and draw resentment from the villagers. He analyzed patiently. Erlang, it is good to be kind-hearted. But have you thought about this? Every household in the village has a different situation. What happens when some family's grain runs out? I was a seasoned veteran of the workplace in my past life, so I naturally understood the stakes involved. Father, a single tree doesn't make a forest, and a single thread doesn't make a string. I want to ask you, if on the road, bandits get the idea to steal grain, would they choose to target a single fleeing family? Or would they choose to target a massive group of fleeing refugees? My brother scratched his head. They would definitely target the single family. Erling, am I right? I didn't hold back my praise. Right? Brother, you're smart. Just a little hint and you know the right answer. I looked at Father. Father, compared to that, The issues you just raised are minor. Everyone is from the same village, and we are all somewhat related. If anyone wanted to steal grain, they have some reservations. And if they did act, they would be ostracized by the whole village and kicked out of the group. And being left alone means certain death. Father raised an eyebrow, his eyes full of gratification. Father, I know what you mean now. After dinner, I will go talk to Li Jing, and I'll mention borrowing his ox cart to go to the county seat tomorrow. I reminded him, Father, make sure you break it down and explain it thoroughly to Uncle Li Jing. Make sure he takes it seriously. Father patted my shoulder. I know what I'm doing. You can put your mind completely at ease. But I'll say the ugly words up front. Even if I convince Li Jing, not everyone in the village will necessarily flee with us. I know. My goal is simply to expand our group. An extra person is an extra ounce of strength. Dinner was extremely sumptuous. The roast chicken was crispy and tender, and the ribs were delicious. But the men each had their own thoughts weighing on their minds, making the atmosphere heavy. Sister-in-law poked my brother under the table and asked in a low voice, "What were you guys talking about just now?" My brother didn't hide it from her. Tonight, Erlang and I, along with Butcher Gao and the others, are going up the mountain to hunt a wild boar. After we finish eating, tidy up the house a bit. I'll call them over to our house later to discuss hunting the wild boar. You're going to hunt a wild boar? Sister-in-law gasped, interrupting him. My brother frowned, afraid that her startling would affect her mood. He hid the matter of fleeing the famine and softly comforted her. We have a lot of people, and there are a few village hunters with us. Nothing will happen. You and Xiaolin stay at home. Your mother is heavily pregnant right now. Tonight, I have to go up the mountain. Take good care of your mother at home. My little niece, gnawing on a chicken drumstick, nodded obediently. Father, I know. I picked up a piece of radish. Brother, father is at home. If sister-in-law goes into labor unexpectedly, father is still here. If you're worried, just stay at home to take care of her. My brother shook his head immediately. No, I'm going with you. You found the wild boar. We brothers will go together. That way, we can get an extra share of the meat. Sister-in-law also echoed. The day I give birth is still far off. Erlang, let your brother go with you. You can look out for each other on the mountain. I marveled inwardly. They were truly terrified of poverty. Since they had decided, I didn't say any more. The Shen family ate the meal with their own thoughts weighing on them. Sister-in-law, in her late pregnancy, heavily craved meat. But she found the dinner dull and tasteless. Only when she was full did she snap out of it. She hadn't even had time to taste what the roast chicken was like. However, thinking that we were going up the mountain tonight to hunt a wild boar, she nimbly cleared away the dishes. Father led the ox cart to return it to Li Jing, and to discuss the matter of fleeing the famine along the way. My brother then called Butcher Gao and the other hunters to our house. They had already heard about my transformation. Now, walking into my house, smelling the rich aroma of meat, and seeing the mountain of grain piled in the corner, they completely believed it. But they were filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred. They would formally hunt for a month and return empty-handed. Yet I just strolled up the mountain and picked up pheasants, and could even buy a cartload of grain. They just assumed that I hadn't completely squandered all the family's money yet. They secretly sighed, thinking the Shun family was wealthier than they imagined. If they knew I had bought this grain with my own money, they wouldn't believe it even if beaten to death. For me, a prodigal son, to turn over a new leaf. The Shin family's ancestral graves must be smoking with luck. I ignored their eager gazes and brought over a long bench. Uncle Gao, everyone, please sit. I have something to discuss with you. Butcher Gao and the others sheepishly withdrew their gazes and asked curiously, Shun family boy, what did you call us here to discuss? On the way over, they couldn't get any information out of my brother no matter how hard they tried. I didn't waste words. To tell you the truth, I went into the mountains these past 2 days and found a lone, injured wild boar up there, thinking that we are all relatives and family. I thought we should hunt the boar together and share the meat. Afraid they would be suspicious, I added, I went up the mountain today and saw the boar was still there. But to avoid any complications, I'm afraid it might run away. So I specially brought everyone here to discuss hunting tonight, since there are wild boars on the mountain. Butcher Gao and the others were instantly in an uproar, completely thrilled. Butcher Gao even changed how he addressed me. Shun Erlang, you're right to think of this. Normally, prey won't stay fixed in one place. Without delay, we'll go up the mountain tonight to hunt the boar. Shun Yitian from our clan chimed in. Not want to be left behind. Right. Erlang, it's good that you thought this through so carefully. You still thought of your clan relatives. Before it gets completely dark, let's set out right now. We still have time to set traps. With years of severe drought, prey on the mountain is nearly extinct. It's normal for them to spend half a month in the mountains and return empty-handed. Now, finding out there's a wild boar. They felt a bitter twinge in their hearts, and were also incredibly grateful to me. If it were them, they absolutely wouldn't share such a good thing. Everyone is terrified of being poor. Watching the few of them gearing up, I secretly called up the system and took the second fortune stick. The boar's environment and condition surfaced in my mind. It has a gash stretching from its back all the way to its belly, even though it had scabbed over. The slightest movement would tear it open and make it bleed. My heart jumped. It was hurt this badly and still rated as a minor danger. It showed just how fierce its counterattack ability was. Luckily, I didn't rashly go alone. I stopped wasting time and had everyone go home to get their tools. We'd gather at the foot of the mountain in half a quarter hour. I grabbed the only hunting bow in the house. My older brother brought a shovel, a machete, and a torch. When we reached the foot of the mountain, Butcher Gao and the others were already waiting, their faces full of excitement. Shen Erlang, you lead the way. To avoid raising suspicions, I led them in 2 or 3 circles around the mountain, before heading toward Black Cliff Cave. At 7 p.m., you could still clearly see things within 30 meters in the forest. When everyone saw that boar above Black Cliff Cave, weighing over 300 caddies, they were all shocked, with years of severe drought, to think there could still be such a massive wild boar. Aside from my brother regretting not taking a risk with me earlier, the others no longer looked at me with contempt. They completely treated me as a true hunter. As a hunter, you need both luck and skill. They had originally discussed giving me half the meat. Figuring the remainder now, everyone left would still get nearly 40 caddies. That could feed them for 40 days. Selling it could also earn them 401. Everyone was even more grateful to me. I gripped my hunting bow, staring intently at the wild boar and observing the terrain. Black Cliff Cave was actually a huge crevice in a cliff face, about 30 meters wide. Below was the cliff. If the wild boar went berserk, this little bit of open space wouldn't be enough to maneuver in. It would be extremely easy to get knocked off the cliff. No wonder it's a minor danger, I muttered to myself. Butcher Gao was the most experienced. He suggested, once the wild boar loses its mind and counterattacks, hunting in Black Cliff Cave will be an incredibly dangerous thing to do. I suggest we lure the wild boar out first, before we hunt it. What do you guys think? I humbly asked for advice. I agree, but how do we lure it out? Butcher Gao thought for a moment. Looking at the boar's condition, it hasn't eaten in a long time. I brought quite a bit of corn before coming up a mountain. We can throw the corn on the ground. Once the starving wild boar sees the food, it'll naturally come out of Black Cliff Cave. Everyone took out the food they brought, with a clear division of labor. I was in charge of placing the bait to lure it out. Butcher Gao and Shun Yutian, who had good archery skills, were responsible for covering fire with their bows. My brother and the others were in charge of digging traps. This was my first hunt in 2 lifetimes, and my palms were covered in cold sweat. Looking at the behemoth less than 10 meters away, I let out a long breath of stale air. My eyes gradually became clear. I carefully observed the boar's wound. It was actually a claw mark. Thinking back to that major danger fortune, this wild boar must have wandered into a wolf den and been attacked by the alpha wolf. I secretly swore I'd never touch a major danger fortune stick. Making money was important, but you had to be alive to spend it. At the same time, my thirst for power was completely ignited. With chaotic times approaching, I had to find my old man and relearn martial arts. After setting out the food, my brother's group finished digging the traps. Just as I was about to retreat, my foot crunched on a dead branch. The boar sharply lifted its head, and our eyes met. Its eyes went red with starvation. It instantly saw me as its prey. It roared at the sky, opening a gaping maw, dripping with foul-smelling drool. Less than 10 meters away, I fought back the urge to throw up. There was only one word in my mind: run. I took off sprinting toward the traps. But how could 2 legs outrun 4? The boar closed and instantly, opening its bloody maw to bite at my neck. The foul stench hit me right in the face. My legs trembled. A monstrous rage flared up in my heart. A mere beast dares to trample all over me, trying to take my life? Then let's fight. The worst that can happen is we both go down. If I'm suffering, you won't get off easy either, you beast. On the line between life and death, I braced myself with one arm against the ground, dodging the fatal strike with a bizarre posture. At the same time, the arrow in my hand plunged viciously several inches deep into its soft belly. The boar let out a shrill scream, startling the birds in the forest. Its eyes went totally red, staring fixedly at me. Butcher Gao and Shun Yutian loosed arrows for cover, but the distance was too great. The arrows merely scratched the boar's hide. The other 2's arrows didn't even touch its fur. Seeing me in danger, my brother, ambushed by the traps, rushed out with red eyes, clutching his machete. He delivered a vicious hack right to the boar's back. With a squelching sound, a massive gash was opened up on the boar's back. The boar thrashed wildly in pain. Throw my brother 3 meters away. He smashed into the hard dirt, seeing my brother risk his life to protect me. A surge of warmth rushed through my heart. Taking advantage of the boar's attention being drawn by my brother, I pulled out a second arrow, kicked off a tree trunk, leaping into the air, and viciously stabbed the arrow right into one of the boar's eyes. The boar shrieked, blood covering half its face. It went completely insane. Its hind legs kicked up dirt, and after a feint toward me, it actually turned to bite my brother on the ground. In the nick of time, Shin Yution dragged my brother away from the boar's jaws. Butcher Gao and the others also reacted, drawing their machetes and wildly hacking at the boar. I seized the moment, picking up my brother's dropped machete, and brought it down hard on the original wound on the boar's belly. Splat! The wound was completely cleaved open. The boar crashed to the ground, dying with its eyes wide open. The 300-plus catty behemoth hit the ground with a tremor. Butcher Gao and the others looked at me, holding the bloody blade. My expression ice cold. They fully understood in their hearts that bagging this prey wasn't just about luck for me. It was also about skill. The Shin family courtyard was brightly lit. The wild boar had been carried back. I wanted to help, but Butcher Gao and the others stopped me, using the excuse that I was still growing. A big guy at 1.86 meters tall. Only my older brother would believe I was still growing. The news spread through Xinghua village like it had sprouted wings. The Shin family doorstep was instantly overflowing with people. Some were here to watch the spectacle, but more were hoping to score some free meat. Everyone was just as poor. Why did my family get to eat wild boar meat? Jealousy was written across many faces. Some put on a fake display of wanting to help, which I rejected with a smile. I thank all of you uncles and aunts, but we won't trouble you for help. We can handle this ourselves. If everyone is interested, later you can spend money to buy our share of the meat. Since we're all neighbors, I won't overcharge. Following the price of pork, it'll be 8 when a caddy. Zhang Erga's uncle, Zhang Jin, jumped out. Shen Erlang, you're treating us like outsiders. The village hasn't hunted a wild boar in ages. It'll go faster with everyone helping. Besides, we just want a little bit of pork offal. How does that sound? I stared at him with a half smile. Did he really want to help? Or was he scheming for the boar meat? Of course we're helping. We're all fellow villagers. If so, I coldly interrupted, then it's free help. Since everyone is so kind, I shouldn't keep stopping you. In that case, here's the knife. I deliberately brought the back of the knife down hard on his grabby fingers. Zhang Jin instantly let out a miserable shriek and opportunistically sat his butt on the ground. Shannon, I kindly offered to help, and you dare hurt me? Fine. Everyone come look. This Shun family bastard is disregarding the law, intentionally injuring people. Ouch, my hand. If I don't get a whole wild boar as compensation today, I'm not leaving. Shannon, this is where you're in the wrong. Everyone had good intentions. How could you hurt someone on purpose? In the crowd, Zhang Jin's wife added fuel to the fire. I heard this Shun family little bastard beat Zhang Ergo half to death today. He even refused to pay his medical bills and called Zhang Erga's mother endlessly greedy. Zhang Erga's mother was so furious she passed out straight away. There's such a thing? How could the Shun family produce such a bastard? It's the Shun family nature. If the upper beam is crooked, the lower ones will go slant. How Shan Huaishan ever became a centurion back in the day? You wouldn't fear people laughing to talk about it. The crowd chattered away, not only cursing me, but dragging my whole family into it. I gave a cold laugh. My gaze swept like a blade over these nosy relatives and gawking gossips. I memorized their faces. When the great famine flight came, these people could forget about following my family. Seeing the crowd echoing her, Zhang Jin's wife got even more arrogant. Shin family bastard, what are you laughing at? So many people saw it. Don't tell me you're going to deny it. I stared at Zhang Jin on the ground with a half smile. Old man Zhang, are you sure you're hurt? Zhang Jin held his hand high, acting extremely arrogant. Of course. At my age, you think I'd be faking it. Everyone looked closely, and his fingers were perfectly fine. There wasn't even a red mark. Faces filled with contempt. Those who wanted to use this to smear me also wisely shut their mouths. Zhang Jin's wife was dumbfounded. Where's the knife wound? Zhang Jin himself froze too. Flying into a rage from humiliation, he yelled, "You tricked me." The sneer on my lips grew deeper. How did I trick you? You're the one who claimed I slashed your finger with a knife. Now that you're unhurt, you're trying to bite back at me? Zhang Jin, at your age, you're still copying others' extortion scams? Aren't you embarrassed to let people hear this? But then again, you Zhangs have always been shamelessly thick-skinned. Zhang Ergu is, and so are you. How does the saying go again? If the upper beam is crooked, the lower ones will go slant. That's talking about you, right? A burst of roaring laughter erupted from the crowd. Zhang Jin turned beet red with anger. Dragging his wife, who still wanted to fight, he scurried off in disgrace. In the dark night, not far away, Wang Jinbao's eyes stared blankly, looking at the brightly lit and bustling Shun family. His face was twisted with jealousy. He gritted his teeth. The next moment, a sinister, cold smile crept onto the corner of his mouth. After Zhang Jin's disturbance, no one dared to cause any more trouble. I noticed the way everyone looked at me had changed. The atmosphere was a bit dull and oppressive, so I chuckled to break the ice, taking care of a mad dog that bites randomly. I'll let you all see a joke. Why I said earlier still stands. If anyone wants to buy meat, it's all 8 when a caddy. Quantities are limited. First come, first served. People were originally worried I wouldn't sell anymore. After all, wild boar meat at 8 when a caddy. Where else could you find such a bargain? The crowd hated Zhang Jin to the core, but looked at me with more respect. Auntie Zhang immediately raised her hand. Shun Erlang. Annie wants 3 caddies of wild boar meat. Pick out the fatty pork belly for Annie. Annie's going home to get the money right now. The little old lady cursed as she walked. Bah, that old geezer, Zhang Jin. Extorting money from a kid at his age. Doesn't he feel ashamed for people to hear about it? Oh boy, can this family change their surname? I feel embarrassed just sharing a surname with him. I knew she was saying that for my benefit. Smiling at Annie Zhang, who I had a good impression of, I turned to look at my sister-in-law. Sister-in-law, can you keep the books? I know some words. Leave the bookkeeping to me. Rest assured, seeing her so enthusiastic, I handed the job of keeping the books and collecting money over to her, with Annie Zhang taking the lead. A group of little old ladies also scrambled forward, fighting to be first. Shin Erling, I want 2 caddies. My kid loves pork belly. Cut 2 caddies of pork belly for me. Shin Erling, I want half a caddy. I want a caddy and a half. Old Manly was pushed to the outer edge, stomping his feet in exasperation. These old women were acting like the pork was free. Crazy, they're all crazy. He turned and grabbed my brother, who just came out of the house. Shin Dalong, I have a lot of people in my family. I want 5 caddies of wild boar meat. I can settle the bill right now. Saying that, he shoved 40 went into my brother's hand. My brother, who was originally going to grab a basin to catch the pig's blood, looked completely bewildered. After understanding the whole story, my brother was so angry he grabbed a knife, ready to settle the score with Zhang Jin. Learning that I hadn't lost out and had even scolded the man away, he finally let it go. Old Manly took the chance to run over to Butcher Gao. Butcher Gao, cut me 5 caddies of wild boar meat. I already paid just now. He stroked his beard smugly, watching the old women who were still fighting over the meat. He felt a secret thrill. He had finally won a round. Butcher Gao looked at my sister-in-law. Seeing her nod, he smiled and cut the meat. The 150 caddies of wild boar meat sold out quickly. Those who arrived late were extremely regretful. They turned to ask Butcher Gao, Butcher Gao, are you selling your share of the meat? Is it still 8 when caddy? Butcher Gao watched me. In just a few short minutes, I had made over a tael of silver. He was already tempted. Seeing his own wife didn't object, he readily agreed. Sell? Shun Erlang has vision. And as an uncle, I'm not lacking either. Seeing this, Shun Yutian and the others also chimed in, expressing they wanted to sell. The 4 of them spent an hour. Except for leaving a bit for their own families, they sold the rest. However, there was a minor incident in the middle. Zhang Yuliang was just about to offer his meat for sale when his fierce wife pinched his side and dragged him to a corner. Are you crazy? You want to sell at a loss to these paupers in the village? Wild boar meat sells for 12 when a caddy in town, and they expect to get wild boar meat for 8 when a caddy? No such luck. You're waking up early tomorrow to take it to town to sell. Zhang Yuliang was henpecked, but saving face, he straightened his back and retorted. We're all from the same village. We're more or less related. So what if I sell it cheap to everyone? I hunted the wild boar. Stay out of men's business. As soon as the words left his mouth, his wife grabbed him by the ear, heaved the 40 caddies of wild boar meat onto her head, and headed home. Everyone's faces sank. A woman spat at their receding backs. Snobs who look down on people. Even if you begged me to buy it, I wouldn't. By the time we finished, it was past midnight. My sister-in-law used the unsold pig marrow bones to cook a pot of porridge, sprinkled with wild scallions. The meaty aroma was mouth-watering. My little niece was woken up by the smell. Swallowing her saliva, she said, "Smells so good. Mother, I want 2 big bowls." She rested her chin on her hands and looked at me under the oil lamp. She innocently said, "Second uncle has become good, and our days have gotten better too. So, second uncle equals good days." I was drinking my porridge and nearly choked. I equal good days? However, looking into the little girl's pure eyes, I knew that in her heart, her second uncle who brought back delicious food every time he went up the mountain, had become a lucky charm. Second uncle, are you going up the mountain tomorrow too? Nope. I pinched her chubby cheek. The little girl's face immediately fell. Then there won't be anything good to eat tomorrow. Second uncle, the candied haws you bought today, Mother only let me eat one. I still want more. But Mother said to save them to eat slowly later. I stroked her dry, brittle hair. Heart-taking, I said, I'm not going up the mountain tomorrow, but I'll make a trip to the county town. What do you want to eat? Second uncle will buy it for you. Second uncle, I want roast chicken. I also want candy and lotus cake. Okay, no problem. My sister-in-law immediately spoke up to scold Shaolin. Your second uncle doesn't make money easily. He hasn't even taken a wife yet. How can he spend all on your mouth? The little girl hung her head. Second uncle, I don't want them anymore. Save the money for my future aunt. My sister-in-law looked at me again. Erling, don't listen to Shaolin. From now on, save all the money you make to marry a wife. I smiled and said nothing. Ever since my broken engagement, my family had constantly rushed me to marry. But we were about to flee from a famine. Getting a wife at a critical juncture like this, I was afraid my legs wouldn't be able to bear it. Seeing this, my older brother interrupted the topic. All right, it's getting late. Let's just tidy up quickly. Erling has been tired all day. He still has to go to the county town with Dad at daybreak. Whatever it is can wait. My brother looked at the tightly shut courtyard gate, his face revealing worry. Dad has been at Uncle Li Zheng's house for so long and still hasn't come back. Erling, you don't think something happened to Dad, do you? No. The whole village fleeing from famine is no small matter. If the old man isn't back yet, it means Uncle Li Zheng listened to you. My brother breathed a sigh of relief. I told my brother to carry my niece back to her room to rest first, while I went into the courtyard and held a horse stance. The road fleeing famine wouldn't be peaceful. I had to improve my strength as quickly as possible. 30 minutes later, Dad pushed the door open, a weary look on his face. Dad, what did Uncle Li Zheng say? Dad glanced at me. Let's talk in the room. I followed him inside, poured a bowl of water, and handed it to him. Dad got straight to the point. The matter is settled. However, Li Zheng said he'll go into the city with us tomorrow to scope out the truth of the news. If it's true, he'll tell everyone about fleeing the famine then, to avoid causing panic ahead of time. I expressed my understanding. Dad remembered my horse stance just now and raised an eyebrow. You were practicing your stance just now. I nodded. Dad, the famine flight is imminent. The road definitely won't be peaceful. I want to relearn martial arts with you. Is that okay? Dad froze for a moment and said, good, and added, from now on, every morning at the hour of Mao, you will practice stances and martial arts with me. If you can stick with it for 7 days, I'll teach you martial arts. Okay, Dad, I definitely won't let you down this time. I pulled out the money from selling the wild boar and handed it over. Dad pushed it back, however. You're going into the city tomorrow. Keep this money and spend it yourself. I didn't decline again. Just as I was about to go back to my room to rest, a cry of pain suddenly came from my sister-in-law in my brother's room. My heart clenched. My sister-in-law was going into labor. My brother ran out in a panic, completely at a loss. Dad, this is bad. Lou is about to give birth. What happened? Dad was stunned. Turns out my older brother told his wife about fleeing the famine. The shock caused her water to break immediately. Dad, what should we do now? You're already a father yourself. Why are you panicking like this? Lou is giving birth now. Of course, we need a midwife for the delivery. Only then did my brother regain his senses. He hurriedly went to fetch Annie Zhang. I stopped him. Brother, I'll go fetch the midwife. You stay home and take care of your wife. I jogged all the way and brought Annie Zhang back. As soon as she entered, Auntie Zhang ordered us to boil water. The whole family felt incredibly lucky that I had my brother buy extra buckets of water during the day. Otherwise, my sister-in-law wouldn't even have water for the delivery. My brother looked at me gratefully. Erling, thank you. If it weren't for you, your sister-in-law wouldn't have water for the delivery. Don't thank me, we're all a family. My little niece went to the kitchen with red eyes to start the fire. I stepped forward to help. Thank you, Uncle. Gone was her daytime mischievousness. So mature it made my heart ache. After lighting the fire, she finally couldn't hold it in and burst into tears. I'm a straight guy, so I can only offer dry comfort. Don't cry. Your mom will definitely be safe and sound. At the break of dawn, Annie Zhang walked out beaming, holding the swaddled baby. She gave birth. It's a boy. Congratulations, Shun Dalong, mother and son are safe. The whole family's tense nerves finally relaxed. My brother grinned from ear to ear and carefully took the baby. Annie Zhang, you've worked hard all night. Are you hungry? We have a pot of pork rib and radish soup simmering. I'll have Xiaoling serve you a bowl. No rush, I haven't finished cleaning up inside. Lady Lu just gave birth. skim the grease off the top of the soup, and serve her a bowl. Shred some lean meat and make some porridge for her to eat. Auntie Zhang went back into the room to clean up, and didn't forget to congratulate my sister-in-law. Congratulations, Lady Lu, on having a big, chubby boy. Your Dalong is reliable, and Erlang is so capable. These past few days, they've bought grain and hunted wild boars. You have endless meat to eat. My sister-in-law felt grateful. Erling is grown up. Nowadays, he's the one buying most of the things. She knew this was all stockpiling food to flee the famine. In the main room, I leaned in to look at my little nephew. So ugly. His face isn't even as big as my fist. So thin and small, like he'd break with a poke. Just as I reached out to touch him, my brother spoke. Erlang, you're the only educated one in the family. Why don't you name the child? But I'm terrible at naming. Brother, I just goofed off during those years I was studying. Let Dad handle naming him. Dad readily agreed. I think we should call him Erwa. I was speechless. Shin, Erwa? How is that any different from Iron Pillar or Chubby Girl? Finally, I made the call. Let's call him Shunlakong. In these famine years, I just want him to be safe, healthy, and happy all his life. My brother and his wife were very satisfied. To save Dad's face, his nickname would be Erwa. Auntie Zhang finished cleaning and came out, and we warmly asked her to stay for breakfast. Pork rib soup, pork belly stir-fried with pickles, wild greens stir-fried in lard. Auntie Zhang ate until her mouth was greasy, burping continuously. She wanted to just take the meal as payment, but I forced 10 coins and 10 caddies of millet on her. Wait, Auntie Zhang, you haven't taken your payment yet. Auntie Zhang blushed and repeatedly declined. I'm a midwife. If Lady Lu or the child need anything later, call me anytime. No charge. That was exactly what I was waiting for. On the road to flee the famine. My sister-in-law and the baby would definitely need Auntie Zhang's care. Then I'll thank you in advance, Auntie Zhang. After seeing Auntie Zhang off, I immediately discussed it with Dad. Brother needs to tell his father-in-law's family about fleeing the famine. Dad slipped him 70 coins. Take this money. Buy a chicken and some eggs in the village. To nourish Lu's body. I knew Dad wanted to, in front of our in-laws, regain the face he'd lost over the years because of me. I leaned into my brother's ear and advised, Brother, just do exactly as Dad says. And you must handle it beautifully. My brother suddenly realized. Before leaving, Dad instructed my brother Dalong, when the in-laws arrive, treat them well. Don't be stingy. Erlang and I are heading out. We might not be back right away. Explain it to the in-laws when they get here. Understood, Dad. Stay safe on the road. Dad and I went to Li Zhang's house. Li Zhang, sporting dark circles, had been waiting for a long time. Having heard from Dad that Xianyang City had fallen, he hadn't slept all night. On the way, I caught 2 hours of sleep in the ox cart. By the time we arrived at Anyang City, it was already early sea hour. Looking at the 10-meter-high city walls, and the surging number of refugees and beggars outside, I was even more certain the vagrants were let in by the authorities. We really can't stay in this place anymore. I silently chanted to the system to start today's divination. Today's fortune. Small luck, small luck. At the West Market Livestock Bazaar, someone dropped a purse. Pick it up before Wu hour for a hefty reward. In Chuanxiang Pavilion, there is a distressed master and servant named Xiao Suing. If you can successfully rescue them from Chuanxiang Pavilion, you will receive a 100-tael silver reward. But beware of being hunted down. Great misfortune. In a call on the southwest peak of Xiaomao Mountain, a mother wolf just gave birth to 3 cubs and is physically weak. My eyes landed on the small luck. A hefty reward again. The second divination slip was actually a rescue mission with a 100-tael bounty. I opened the profile. Xiao Suing is the eldest daughter of the great general of Zheng State. She discovered King Ling's treason and was hunted down all the way to Chuanxiang Pavilion. The 100-tael silver reward is certainly tempting. Enough to buy several carriages full of grain. But I still have my sanity. Offending King Ling for 100 taels of silver? Forget it. I pulled the first divination slip without hesitation. Having lived 2 lives, I just want to lay low and survive. That's the way to survive in troubled times. As I took the divination slip, the scene around the dropped purse instantly appeared in my mind. It was early sea hour. There were still nearly 2 hours before the end of Wu hour. I wasn't in a hurry to complete the first slip's task. Anyway, I just needed to pick up the purse before Wu hour. Certain that there was free money to be picked up today, my steps became much lighter. In contrast, Dad and Li Zhang had grim expressions ever since we entered the city. Their brows were furrowed so tight they could kill a fly, because the number of people leaving the city was several times higher than those entering. The closer we got to the South Market near the affluent district, the more people we saw fleeing with their families and bundles. The taverns and inns in the city were completely packed. Some people even paid the price of a first classroom just to make do with a woodshed. For businesses to be this packed during a severe drought year, it went without saying what this meant. Previously, they had been half skeptical of my words. Now they believe me 80 or 90%. Dad and Li Zheng quickened their pace, praying that their good friends in the city hadn't left yet. After entering the South Market, the two agreed on a time to meet and then separated. I followed Dad and stopped in front of a fairly nice courtyard house. Dad told me that the Yaman's head constable lived inside. Your Uncle Lu. Years ago, when I was a centurion, I saved his life on the battlefield, so we became sworn brothers. In the past 2 years, he left the army, retired to Anyang City, and took up the post of head constable. I was quite surprised. Old Dad hid his depths well. He was actually sworn brothers with the Yaman head constable. Dad heard movements in the courtyard and pulled out 3 taels and 700 coins, handing them to me. I need to ask your Uncle Lu for news about Xianyang City. Take this money and go to the grain shop to buy food. Okay. I took the money, turned, and left. Heading to the grain shop, I would pass through the West Market Livestock Bazaar. I decided to pick up the purse along the way. Seeing so many people leaving the city today made me vaguely uneasy. I'm afraid grain prices will go up. I picked up my pace. Guided by the divination slip, I arrived at where the purse had dropped. This place was between 2 livestock shops. It was dimly lit, surrounded by thatch and animal dung. Not minding the dirt, I pretended to have dropped something, bent down and picked up the dirt-colored satin purse. I weighed it in my hand. It wasn't light. I opened it and took a look. 6 shiny golden beans. Nearly blinded my eyes. A tidy little profit. I was thrilled. 1 gold bean was 5 taels of silver. 6 beans meant 30 taels. Dad and brother had saved for so many years and only had 20 taels. And I just picked up 30 taels on 1 trip to town. However, I quickly calmed down. This was the bonus of the small luck fortune. Thinking of the 100 tael bounty on the second slip, I was truly tempted. I really wanted to take the risk just once. But thinking about offending King Ling and being hunted down, I sobered up instantly. Forget it. My life is more important. It's no use having money if you're not alive to spend it. I strolled leisurely to the grain shop, only to find it packed with people. After exerting monumental effort to squeeze through the crowd, I heard 2 critical pieces of news. First, grain prices had risen. Millet, which was 4 coins a caddy yesterday, had risen to 8 coins today. It had doubled. Second, Anyang City was about to face a major upheaval. After today, the city gates would be locked down and passage forbidden. Why on earth are they locking down the city? It's seriously driven up grain prices. Exactly. Are those people at the Yamen crazy? Someone complained in dissatisfaction, but was immediately gagged by the person next to him. Keep your voice down. The Yamen people have been arresting people indiscriminately lately. My neighbor just said one thing against the Yamen, and he's already been thrown into prison. The noisy market instantly fell dead silent. Everyone gasped in horror. Someone boldly asked around, why would the authorities suddenly lock down the city? Haven't you heard? Xianyang City was breached by vagrants and is now in chaos. The authorities are doing this for our own good. Everyone then suddenly understood, gritting their teeth and biting the bullet to buy grain. My hearing is excellent. Hearing this conversation sent a chill straight down my spine. Locking down the city is for the people's own good? In my mind, a bold and absurd speculation emerged. Anyang City is under King Ling's jurisdiction. Since he could let vagrants slaughter Xianyang City, why wouldn't he take the opportunity to add fuel to the fire? The authorities locking down the city. King Ling was probably trying to trap the dogs behind closed doors. I shivered. We absolutely cannot stay in Anyang City and Xinghua Village any longer. We must flee the famine. In front of the grain shop, most people were scared off by the doubled grain prices. I took the chance to squeeze to the very front. Boss lady, I want to buy 2 sure of millet, 1 sure of refined rice, 2 sure of coarse flour, 1 sure of fine flour, 50 caddies of white sugar, and 10 caddies of fine salt. How much is that in total? The boss lady was just stressing over how the authorities forcing the prices up had led to a dismal business. Hearing my words, her eyes lit up, but taking one look at my simple attire, the light faded again. Young master, are you sure you want this much? I saw through her thoughts. To be honest, I'm buying grain on behalf of my master. The boss lady then put on a smiling face again. Young master, that comes to a total of 10 taels and 720 coins. I'll round it down for you. Just pay me 10 taels and 7 mace. Seeing me stay silent, the boss lady hurriedly explained, Young master, please don't find it too expensive. These grain prices are the authorities doing. And based on my decade of business experience, I'm afraid it will keep rising later. This isn't expensive at all anymore. I don't think it's too expensive. I just feel the pinch in my wallet. If I had known, I would have bought more yesterday. I paid the money, leaving me with only 20 taels and 2 mace. Boss lady, can you deliver this grain to the city gate during Shin hour? I plan to go check out the livestock market again. I naturally can't carry this much grain while walking around. The boss lady readily agreed. Our people will wait at the city gate for 1 or 2 quarters of an hour, but they won't wait past the agreed time. Now that the grain was bought, I just needed a carriage. I excitedly went to the livestock market, but was ruthlessly slapped by reality. A carriage actually cost 100 taels. Even the prices of oxen and horses had doubled. I left the market crestfallen. I was truly unwilling to accept it. As a man, how could I not have a vehicle? When the agreed time arrived, I met up with Dad at the noodle stall under the big locust tree. Looking at Dad's gloomy face, I knew the news he'd asked about was pretty close to my speculation. Erlang, you guessed right. We can't stay in Xinghua village anymore. As for the reason, this isn't the place to talk. We'll talk when we get back. I poured him a bowl of water. Dad, when we get back, I also have an important matter to discuss with you. Perhaps it's the same thing you're talking about. Dad looked at me in surprise, realizing that I was calmer than he, a former centurion, even more composed. When he first heard the news that the authorities were letting vagrants massacre the city, he couldn't sit still at all and ran out without even eating. Right now, he just wanted to hurry home and flee the famine. Did you buy the grain? I bought it. You can rest assured when I handle things. Dad breathed a sigh of relief. Was the money enough? It was enough, and there's some left over. I gestured a number. Dad was shocked. 20 taels and 2 mace. He thought I'd stolen money from home and hadn't finished spending it. I directly interrupted his wild thoughts. Dad, this money is from when I was going to buy grain. I picked it up on a road passing by the livestock market. 30 taels in total. That can happen, but combining it with my recent luck. He was relieved. While eating dumplings, we discussed buying a vehicle. Erlang, do you want to have a carriage? Dad, just stop dreaming. I asked when I passed by the livestock market earlier. The cheapest carriage costs 100 taels of silver. Dad's face also fell. That expensive? When settling the bill, 2 bowls of meat dumplings actually cost 70 coins. They used to be only 15 coins. Things have truly fallen into chaos. Money isn't worth anything anymore. Dad sighed repeatedly. Did you ask about the price of ox or donkey carts? I shook my head. I was knocked dizzy by the 100 taels at the time. And forgot to ask. Don't be discouraged yet. You've had good luck lately. And the livestock market is so big. Based on your fortune, maybe we can pick up a bargain. Besides, if we only buy an ox or a donkey, the price should be cheaper. We should be able to buy one after haggling. I felt it made sense. With the small luck fortune's blessing, I might really be able to pick up a bargain. Furthermore, my sister-in-law just had a baby, and Dad's leg injury hasn't healed. How could we flee the famine without a vehicle? We arrived at the first shop in the horse market again. It was crowded like a marketplace, full of wealthy families preparing to flee the famine. The shopkeeper, seeing our plain clothes, didn't even spare us a glance. Dad got angry and deliberately shouted, "How does your shopkeeper run things? Can't you see we won't buy a horse?" Forced into a corner, the assistant came over with a face full of disdain to brush us off. "You two customers. May I ask which horse caught your eye?" Dad casually pointed at a scrawny, reddish horse. "How much is this horse?" The assistant was stunned. "This is our store's crowning jewel, an Akeltech steed." He thought Dad was just a blind cat finding a dead mouse. Who knew Dad would shake his head and sigh. "The horse is a good horse. But if I'm not mistaken, this horse's bloodline is impure. It can't really be considered a true Akeltech steed. It's a pity your shopkeeper is a crooked merchant, cutting corners on its feed, feeding it ordinary horse fodder, missing the prime time for its rearing, causing this horse, though in its prime, to be less robust and powerful than ordinary horses. It wouldn't live long even if bought." Dad's logical analysis drew a crowd of onlookers. A few wealthy guests who had intended to buy it also shook their heads and walked away. The shopkeeper rushed over in a fluster. "You two esteemed guests, watch your words. Our shop only does honest trade. We feed the horses only the best fodder. Where does this talk of cutting corners come from? If you slander me, I'm not afraid to take you to court." Dad sneered repeatedly. "You did it, but I'm not allowed to say it. This horse's teeth still have traces of dry grass. Crushed dry grass is mostly used as emergency feed. This Akeltech steed should be carefully fed with tender grass. Look again at the horse dung. The dung is in dry, granular shapes." The shopkeeper became more alarmed the more he listened. Knowing he had met an expert, he hastily softened his tone. "Esteemed guest, could we speak in private? If there is a horse that catches your esteemed eye, I can sell it to you cheap. I'll only charge you 80 taels for a horse, and only 100 taels for a carriage." "Ow, Is this any different from not lowering the price at all? I went through the trouble of coming in disguise to personally visit the horse market. I see this deal is better left unmade. Dad angrily flicked his sleeve and left. I was completely dumbfounded watching this. Old Dad's acting was absolutely brilliant, with the first shop as a cautionary tale. The shopkeepers of the subsequent stores didn't dare neglect us, personally greeting us with smiling faces. Dad took the opportunity to teach me how to judge a horse's quality. I listened hungrily, eagerly soaking it in, deliberately acting like an arrogant, wealthy young master. An ox cart for 50 taels? A yellow ox for 40 taels? So cheap. Such bad luck, it sullies my eyes. Even a single cricket in my courtyard is worth over 100 taels. Let's go, let's go. The shopkeepers were completely bluffed. Coming out of the second shop, Dad gave me a thumbs up. You're quite the sly one, kid. You've got my flair from back in the day. After walking around, we found the prices didn't fluctuate much. The cheapest ox still cost 40 taels. The shopkeeper of the first store saw us return empty-handed and smugly mocked us. How was it? Did your bragging fall flat? I said from the beginning that you two look completely impoverished. How could you have money to buy a horse? I shot him a cold glare, turned my head, and said to the second shopkeeper, Shopkeeper, that carriage and the 2 donkey carts from earlier, keep them for us. We're going back to get money, and we'll be back to buy them in an hour. The second shopkeeper was initially stunned, then overjoyed. But the first shopkeeper scoffed. You don't actually believe them, do you? If these two can afford to buy them, I'll bathe in horse dung. The crowd around burst into laughter. I stared at him with a half-smile. Shopkeeper Zhang, then it's a deal. Everyone here is a witness. Don't cry and go back on your word later. But Shopkeeper Zhang is a businessman. I assume you are a man of your word. The shopkeeper's spine chilled under my stare. He flew into a rage out of humiliation. Dad thought I was just acting out of youthful pride and didn't take it seriously. But for the sake of my sister-in-law and my newborn nephew, Dad decided to risk his pride and go borrow money from Li Zheng and his friends to buy the carts. Dad going to borrow money perfectly gave me the chance to slip away. I unhesitatingly pulled out the second divination slip, Chuanxiang Pavilion. As a distressed master and servant, the master is named Xiao Suing. If you can successfully rescue them from Chuanxiang Pavilion, you will receive a 100 tael silver reward. But beware of being hunted down. The place where Xiao Suing and her servant were hiding instantly appeared in my mind. They were actually hiding in the secret compartment under the opera stage. No wonder King Ling couldn't find them even after digging 3 feet deep. But my brows were tightly furrowed. Xiao Suing's face was deathly pale. She was extremely weak. It was obvious she hadn't eaten for days. If I don't save them today, they definitely won't survive. Past tonight, for the carriage for my whole family to flee the famine. I'm going all out for this 100 tael reward.